Rollo Tomassi don't get no hoes, man. Who, like, come on, man, like, who gave Rollo Tomassi this God tier status? Like, Rollo Tomassi don't get no hoes, man. Like, show me some hoes Rollo Tomassi pulled, you know what I'm saying? Show, like, really, like, y'all acting like he really popping, pushing P, like, y'all acting like he came out the womb saying P.
Oh boy, here we go. In the house. Producer Kyle's with me today. Got a lot to talk about. We're gonna get down to brass tacks today. No more of this bullshit. No more gossip, right? Should I say no more gossip for the rest of the year? We're gonna get into the male protector dynamic today. I'm gonna get down to some real stuff. We're gonna have a pod class today. I hope you guys are in for it. You guys ready for your pod class today? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get into it, I have to give you, ladies and gentlemen, I humbly present to you Mayor McCheese.
Keep your damn mouth shut.
There it is. There it is.
Just shut up.
That's right.
Don't say nothing.
Right.
It's best don't say nothing. There ain't no trying to fix. That way you ain't got to fix. What if you're right? What?
This guy is like
What did he say? What did you say? What if you're right? What if you're right? Are you married? Yes, I am. You actually said that? What if you're right?
Yes.
When? I mean, sometimes. When? What? Boy, your dumb ass ain't gonna make 15. I can tell you that right now.
I think it's important to remember that this is the same Steve Harvey that who's let's say personal bodyguard and personal chef was nailing his wife. So I'll just let that one sink in for you. This is like nothing affects these dudes.
Consider yourself romantic?
Yes. To a fault.
Really?
Yeah, because women pretend they like that bullshit and they don't. They like it until you do it, and then it gives them the ick.
No.
That's so true. Go around treating her good, kissing on her, and literally holding her hand everywhere, and then telling her she's the best, and encouraging her, and supporting her, and doing things for her that she didn't even anticipate she needs, and then paying for everything, and then leaving rose petals, and being like, you know, today's the first day we met. All of that gets you just like, what a fucking loser. Like that's what they do. They go, this fucking guy's obsessed with me.
It is true.
Yeah, women don't like it. They say they like it. My grandma liked it, but there's nobody like my grandma anymore.
We have an evolutionary theory on why women develop icks. So basically, a certain percentage of the population will do better promiscuous. So women who are more promiscuous, how would evolution create that behavior in the unconscious mind? It would give a woman more icks. So women who are able to stay happily married just genetically have a personality with much lower icks. So high ickiness, where you have a ton of icks, is probably correlated with like more promiscuous family lines. And men have the same thing.
I love I love Ty Lopez, but Ty, please leave this shit to Mike Sartain. Okay.
One of my guy friends, why he keeps pictures of his exes on his Instagram, because I feel like most girls I know delete their pictures of their ex like pretty like right after the breakup. And he actually told me it's because when other girls look at his Instagram and see the pictures of his exes, they can see that he has dated like other hot girls and is like normal enough to date. And so then he said that he gets more hot girls because he's dated hot girls. So really, he's using his exes as a way to get other girls.
And it's working.
Things like, oh, F girls are but like, I'm a virgin.
I know.
Like,
Do you collab with guys though?
Yeah, of course.
Wait, so then how are you a virgin?
Because it's for work. I'm filming. It's like, it's kind of like a tax write-off. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count. Like, I've lost track of that. I don't think I can count.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that. So
yeah,
you're a virgin.
but I'm a virgin.
Okay. Same.
Yeah. Men love to make their lives harder. Like, why are you driving a manual car? Why are you modding out your car? Like, just get a car with a backup camera. Stop being broke.
What's a manual car?
Oh my god.
Special about your nights? What's special about your nights?
Bro, what do you mean?
Yeah, I've been all Saint-Tropez. Don't tell me that I'm in Saint-Tropez. I know I'm in Saint-Tropez. I go out every night. And I have like 9 girls with me, 10. I don't know. They're accumulating by the minutes.
How many models?
Too many. I can call all the models from Saint-Tropez to come to this club. I walk into the club, I get all the models from Saint-Tropez. N'importe quoi là. Tu fais de ma gueule là. Allez, we go.
We're getting out of here. We're never coming back, by the way. We're never coming back to this shit.
The chicks just. I got to show. I'm going to hang on to this one because I got to show that one to Mike next time we do Access Vegas. I'll say, what did he do wrong?
Literally going to spit out millions of young men who are craving and ready and teed up to be addicts. There is some new data coming out showing that when states legalize gambling, bankruptcies go up somewhere between 20 and 35%. Gambling addiction actually has the highest suicide rate because if you were addicted to meth, we would know it and we would try and do something about it. But if you got in over your head in online gambling and you felt like there was no way out, nobody knows it. And that's why it has the highest suicide rate of all the addictions. And Richard Reeves, the president of the American Institute for Boys and Men, just came out with a study showing that the incremental deaths of despair among young men has gone up so dramatically since 2004. We've lost an incremental 400,000 men, which is how many men we lost in World War II.
Which I'm pretty sure aren't the result of online gambling, of all things.
And I think it's just going to get worse. And I know this is a terrible prediction, but unfortunately, gaming stocks are going to surge. These private equity companies rolling up rehab clinics are going to see a huge increase. Novo Nordisk and GLP-1 drugs are going to boom because they're going to start using GLP-1 to try and treat gambling addictions. And I worry that we're raising especially a generation of boys who seem to be more prone to addiction, who are just going to slipstream right into different types of drug and gambling addictions.
Like, where the fuck does this guy get this shit is what I want to know, man. Gambling addictions, really? So it's not going to be, let's see, deaths of despair are gambling addictions for younger men, right? It's not, let's see, opioids. It's not alcohol. It's not, what is it? Deaths of despair, right? Gambling addictions, really? How do we get there? It's like, well, I don't know what else to tell these guys. Let's throw this one out there and see if it sticks. Yeah. I think Scott, the last brain cell, is kind of firing for Scott right now. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, weed and drinking. But yeah. Well, yeah. What about let's see, Vyvanse? He's doing too much Vyvanse. I love it. If you had a meth addiction, we would know. Well, yeah. What about heroin, right? Let's go crazy. It's funny. Maybe I shouldn't have this conversation with you because you're such a young man. I got Kyle in the house with me today.
What's up?
We were on, I don't know why this reminded me of this. We were on Access Vegas and the topic of drugs came up on Access Vegas. Mm-hmm. And Mike Sartain was saying he had never, he's never been drunk. He's never had, I have seen him drink, but only like when he was like having champagne at like some celebration, right? That's it. Yeah. I've never, ever seen Sartain drunk. He said he'd never done drugs, and I know what it was. He was relating that story about that chick with who did GHB and everything that he's been talking about quite a bit. And I think he kind of felt like he had to like sort of like put a caveat in there and say like, I've never done GHB. Like, okay. But then, so, I was really impressed with that. And maybe it's a military thing. Maybe it's just brought up that way. I don't know, but I do not have a similar experience whatsoever.
Neither do I.
Neither do you. Yeah. I think one of the worst things we ever did was legalize marijuana. I'm sorry to say. I'm not anti like weed. I'm just saying it's the accessibility of it is just so, like, I can remember smoking weed when it was illegal in high school in the 80s and like I guess in some through the 90s too, and that is not the same like intensity or concentration of THC as are in like edibles and the rest of all this other shit right now. And can you grow it now? Yeah, I guess you can grow it now. Why am I not growing weed? Can make a lot of money. Yeah, I was just gonna say. Oh, yeah. Hey, Kyle, you got a shout out. Kyle, shout out, Kyle. Gonna bridge. There you go. Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay. Might as well get this out of the way first. Yes. Sorry, Miguel. I have to steal your prop. We are now are we at 100,000 on Bitcoin? We got over. We got to 103. All right, it's good enough. So I can use this.
You lost a stone.
Oh, did I lose a stone? Oh, that's because we dropped one here. There you go. All right. Now we have the final infinity stone. There you go. Now the final infinity stone for 100,000 at Bitcoin. Oh yeah. Okay, that's enough of that. This is not a crypto show. This is not a crypto show. But I had to throw that out there because, man, holy moly. You know, what is it? What do they say? A rising tide raises all boats. Boy, my boats are like way up here right now. I didn't realize it was going to be. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't realize it was going to be this good.
Right.
So yeah, I know everybody's riding high, right? You better do something with that. Like save your money, like invest, choose wisely, do it wisely. Anyway, so so we're talking about that, and I was saying, like full disclosure, I have done marijuana, I have done coke back in the day. I couldn't really do coke that much because it was too expensive. Like I was poor, right? I mean, relatively speaking, I was poor.
Yeah.
I didn't even really drink all that much until I got into like my mid-20s, right? Okay. You had to eat where I grew up in Southern California. It was easier to get marijuana than it was to get like for an underage kid, like you're in high school or whatever. Unless you went to like a backyard kegger, you weren't going to be drinking. Nobody wanted to buy booze unless you were like a chick. Like like you could wait at the liquor store, like some dude would come and buy you booze, but I was never into booze. Weed was what everybody did in Southern California. We go down to surf at Huntington Beach and we would like smoke weed, right? And then we'd eat tacos. And that was our thing. But I have done LSD back in the day when I was 19. I did what else? Oh, I've done mushrooms before. Few times. This was back when I was like, this was my experimental stage, very experimental. Oh, and then when I finally started playing in bands and I started like actually doing so, like I was sort of my rock star 20s. Ecstasy was a thing back then. Yep. And I've never done Molly, but people tell me that like ecstasy is like Molly.
Yeah, similar.
I've never done that. And let's see what else. I think that's about it. But I the reason I'm bringing this up is because like a lot of people say like if I come down on something like ayahuasca, or like some of these psychotropic, psychoactive drugs, and people go, well, Rollo, you don't know what it's like, man. You'll find God. Dude, in that case, I found it when I was 19, when you should have been doing it, not at 40 something years old when you think it's something novel. No, yeah, Rollo did coke. Yeah, it's not like I was saying it's a hell of a drug. No, I only a few times. Like I think I could probably count on the fingers of one hand how many times I've ever done coke. And that was only because it was available at a after party or something like that. It's not because I was buying it or anything like that. It just happened to be available. But it was just too bloody expensive. Everything was too bloody expensive back then because like I think my liquid assets were my 2 guitars, my Randall half stack, and whatever pedals I had in my truck. That's basically what I had to like, it's my assets at that time. But haven't done any. I've coming up on 7 years. I haven't, I don't know, 8 years. 8 years I haven't had a drink. That'll be in December coming up. I don't really think about it in terms because I just stopped. It's not like I ever had a problem drinking. I just stopped because I wanted to stop so I could write the 4th book. And I said, hey, when I'm done with the 4th book, I will have a drink to celebrate publishing the 4th book. Right. And I got there 3 years later and I'm like, I don't really feel like I need to. And I'm a much more efficient person, like not drinking. So I'm like, I don't really feel the need to do it. And I just haven't. Right. And I don't, because we are offered weed all the time on this show, and I don't smoke weed. I mean, not for a lack of opportunity. That's for damn sure. So. Yeah, they want to pay us with weed. But I mean, if I wanted to, it's right there anytime I want to. I just simply don't want to. I think it's kind of weird because a lot of people who have like problems with drugs or like in Scott Galloway's case, gambling addictions. I understand the mechanics behind that because I used to work at International Game Technologies, which is IGT up in Reno. They had changed the name of the company now, but it's one of, if not the largest producer of electronic games, like for video poker and slot machines and Buffalo
progressive slots.
Yes. And trust me, they know how to make you addicted to those games, just like Facebook knows how to make you addicted to Facebook and Twitter and everybody else. They understand the mechanics behind it. So it's called churn marketing. Go look it up someday. You'll scare the hell out of you. But chemical. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's a sedation, and I've said this in the past. It's like you can listen to my stuff. You can read my books. You can get into Reignite. You can get into MOA. You can get into any of this stuff. But, if you want to change your life, you're never, ever I'm looking at you. You are never, ever going to change your life until you can stop sedating yourself, until you figure out what's sedating you, and then you can stop doing that. Then you can move on. You have to figure out what's going to what is keeping you in bed, right? Is it pornography? Is it online video games? Is it like immersive video games? Is it, and by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of like chemical addiction, right? I mean, usually it is like, it could be like, prescription opiates or whatever it is that you're like hooked on. But it can also be a mindset, right? You could be just, locked into this way of thinking. That's just this, defeatist way of thinking. And that's just as much a sedation as anything else. And so until you change your mind about yourself, until you can stop sedating yourself, you're never, ever going to make any progress. I can tell you that with 100% assurity, right? And so like when I'm working with guys on Reignite, or I'm working with guys who I'm just sort of trying to help like come back from being zeroed out, it's the first thing I say. Like, are you going to the gym? Okay, go to the gym. Because if you go to the gym, then you're going to end up like triggering the good juju, right? The endorphins are going to be good. There's so much that goes along with like physical exercise that's going to help you with your frame of mind, first of all. But it's not just, hey man, just go lift, bro. That's not the solution. The solution, like people think that, that's all the rub your red pills really. Just go lift, bro. Ugh. That's not what it's about, right? But that's where it starts, because that's what's going to make you feel better. And so like when you're trying to sort of get past a sedation, or if you're getting past something that is like, everybody will tell you this, you'll hear everyone from Alex Hormozy to Andrew Huberman to God knows whoever else, they're going to talk to you about, it's dopamine addiction, right? Okay, dopamine is not the thing that makes you addicted. Okay, dopamine is the precursor to the good feelings that come, right? So it's the that hormone is the anticipation hormone. Really what you're addicted to is the endorphin rush that comes after that. So it's just that, because that's the reward, right? So when you're talking about like the dopamine hit, or like the anticipation of something that's going to be good, that's really where gambling addiction comes from. Like you have to really figure out what is sedating you, what is keeping you in bed, what is it that you do on a regular basis that you're habituated to that keeps you from actually doing something like, changing your mind about yourself, or doing something progressive with yourself. And I mean that in the sense like progressing your life along, right? How is that going to, how are you going to change that? Well, the first step is replacing those habits that trigger that dopamine or that endorphin hit with better behaviors that also produce the endorphin hit, right? So I've always said this is like, if you want to stop drinking, if you want to stop doing weed, I don't know, whatever, if you want to stop doing these things, or you want to feel better about yourself and stuff, first of all, go to the gym. The other thing is like, listen to loud ass fucking music. Like that will maybe that's just me, right? Because if I'm listening to like Lamb of God or Slayer or something like that, and it's just driving and stuff, I don't know what it is, but it just sort of gives you that kind of like chill kind of feeling, like when
start my heart, just start running.
Yeah, there you go. Well, but I look around me when I go to Powerhouse, any gym really, but a Powerhouse gym, you look around you and everybody's got earbuds in and stuff. It's like, it might be the music you're playing, but people are listening to the music that they want, because that's what inspires them. That's what helps them get past the sticking point when they're doing so. Like when I'm at a concert, when I'm watching like All That Remains, or if I'm watching like Phil Levante, or if I'm watching these guys who I can really get behind, you kind of get that, like, I don't know, it's a surge, right? It's hard to say. It's almost like surfing, right? It's like you have this big ass kinetic energy behind you, like this wave that's pushing you behind you. And that's triggering, the good juju, right? And so if you can like find ways to replace those, like you replace a good habit for a bad habit, but it's like, it might not deliver the same, endorphin rush as like if you're like doing a line of Coke or something like that, obviously. But the idea is to have alternate behaviors that trigger those good feelings, right? Maybe you know how you get a runner's high, like that kind of stuff. That might be something I do. Thank you for that, E. Jones. I was just about to say, yeah, you're doing high intensity workouts and stuff like that. Absolutely. I do HIIT training by default, because I have a very fast greyhound that runs as fast as it can from like one smell to the next smell, and then we dead stop, and then we run at 45 miles an hour to the next smell, right? So, this is a pretty good one. Rollo, how do you deal with a girl who flakes, starts to ghost? Recently got a girl's number, and after a couple replies, she's gone ghost. The interest isn't there. You just bye. Like, here's how do I deal with this? Spin more plates, my friend. That's how you deal with it. It's called dating non-exclusive. People hate it when I use the term spinning plates. More plates, more dates. Okay, so spin more plates. Yes, did I lift that from Tom Likas a long, long time ago? Yes, I did. But really what it is it's a euphemism for dating non-exclusively. If you had more irons in the fire, you would not be sending me that quote. So anyways, getting down to it. Did I get you to, I already put that on there. Yeah. By the way, our this show sponsored and funded by our watchers and our listeners and everybody else. So please throw out as many super chats as you feel comfortable doing. However, I have to make this announcement right now. If you go and you look at my sub account on YouTube, we've just passed the 224,000 mark.
Oh shit!
Imagine that. Only what? How many days are 8 days into December already? Oh my God! It's almost as if we've been lifted from some kind of blacklist or some kind of diversion tactics has been happening for the last year. I have made more progress. I have got more subs in the last week than I've had in the last year. So you connect the dots. Yeah, it looks like we're there. Rollo, Destiny is finished. Thank you. Okay, he who shall not be named. She who thirsts. Yes. No. I had when I had everybody liked having Cappy on last week. That was good. I'm going to see if I can have him on again. So announcements. First off is we now passed the 224,000 mark. I hope we're getting back to where you guys are actually going to see these videos in your feeds, and actually we're going to get back to normal traffic, and things are going to go back to hopefully when Trump gets in office in January. Maybe some of these guys will be held accountable, or even. But I've noticed this ever since Trump announced that he was going to drop a hammer on the DHS and these NGOs and anybody who was sort of abridging their First Amendment rights, right? That kind of stuff. That when we played the video, I've noticed that a lot of for sure, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and some other. I want to say Slack, maybe Loom, some of these other lesser known, platforms and stuff like that. Yeah. They've all updated their terms of service. I'm like, yeah, they know the hammer's coming, man. They know that the drop is coming, man. So that's good news. I'm hoping I'm cautiously optimistic at this point that things are going to change as far as the direction, the nature of this channel, which by the way, we're going to definitely be getting back to Access Vegas this week, which will be on Wednesday this week, because on Thursday this week, we have Babes in Toyland, which is here in Las Vegas. And it's going to be at the MGM, and it's going to be at this club called On the Record, which is they've been there before. I've been there before. It's a great, great place. And it's the actual Christmas version of this, which, by the way, is where Babes in Toyland started, right? Toys for Tots. And so therefore that was the original. And so Mike just did the one in Los Angeles, and so I'm going to do with Mike. We're going to do the one in Vegas. So I will be also bringing my wife to this one. So if you guys want to go and meet Mrs. Tomasi and you want to get let's get her signature. Let's get her autograph too. Right? Does she actually exist? Did I watch Alien Romulus? Not yet. I actually purchased the movie and I have it. I just have been waiting for the right time to watch it. And not because I'm just holding out on you guys or trying to just prolonging the magic. No, it's because I have been moving. I've been moving and sort of rearranging my house and getting it the way that I like ever since I made the move in October, and now I'm still kind of like getting settled in all the way here in December. Which also meant that I had to get my 85-inch widescreen TV into this living room and set up my surround sound and put my PS5 is in there now too, so I can play Space Marine. So yeah, I do plan on watching it though, probably very soon, maybe after Christmas. We'll see. Oh God, Pixie is a very, very nasty girl. She is. I'm a whore. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's enough. That's all I have to say about that. So yes, Mrs. Tomasi will be with me on that Thursday at Babes in Toyland. Oh Jesus, here we go. Is it a shit test? Shittiest? Is it a shit test when she offers to buy you a coffee? Where? What's the context? Is it at the company cafeteria? Or is it at Barney's? Or is it at Starbucks? Or is it where's another good coffee place? I don't even know. I need way more context than that for $1.99. Thank you. So that's announcement number one. Babes in Toyland is this week. It will be on Thursday, MGM, the casino here, and at On the Record. And I think all you have to do is bring toys. I think it's just a donation. It is a charity event. If you want to buy a table, then you're going to be paying money. But I will be there. Which of course means that we're going to do Access Vegas on Wednesday before that. Now, here's a bigger announcement. Myron and Fresh are coming into Las Vegas on Tuesday, the 10th. They'll be in the evening. The possibility exists that we're going to be doing a show with them. We are definitely doing a show with them on Friday, which will be, I guess, the 13th. Friday the 13th. Oh boy. Here, right here in the studio. It will be in the evening. I'm going to say probably about 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It will be myself, Mike Sartain. It will be Myron and Fresh and the Hodge twins, as well as Captain Capitalism, Cappy. Aaron Clary will be in with us too. I already asked him. He confirmed with me just this morning. And I have called Justin Waller to see if Justin would show, because I wanted to do an Avengers Assemble kind of show with everybody in Miami. But since I can't get everybody in Miami, I'll take Las Vegas. So if I can get Justin out here as well, it'll be all of us together, be the 8 of us at this table, and we will be having that round table discussion that you guys like so much. The last time we did this, it was myself, Mike, Cappy. We had I think we had Jake Shields was with us as well, and then we had Myron Fresh, and then we had Marquette from Saint and Sinner. And so that ended up being a really good show. So I think we could probably do something similar with this. Andrew Wilson, I would love to have Andrew in. In fact, I've been talking to him about maybe doing a show where it's me and him talking about all of the things we were right about. Do you want to hear how right we were again? Probably not. So yeah, it's going to be good. That'll be fun. I'm glad they're here, especially this time. I'm hoping Fresh is going to at least come to Babes in Toyland, because I think that'll be a really good. If we can, I will if I can. It's not so much. He'd probably show up, but it's a matter of having space at the table right now. So like we can fit comfortably. We can get about 8, maybe 10 people here if we had somebody on the end here. We can comfortably fit about 10 people on this table. Usually we have like myself, Mike, and then if we can get 8 girls, we're rocking and rolling. If we can get like 6, then we have a really good intimate show. But if we get more than that, oh boy. Hey, there we go. Nice. Thank you very much, sir. Why do they risk their lives? Because it's beneficial for the sisterhood and they told them so. Well, thank you for your $100. I'm about to explain to you the male protector dynamic, which I think you probably, if you have been reading my material for any amount of time, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I also want to get into a couple of other topics that I've been seeing on running around on Twitter this week. One of those is the idea of hybristophilia, and apparently we have a counter example of hybristophilia. There is a young lady who is, I guess, a serial killer who just got picked up. And now, of course, all these guys are like, oh, I would do her. I would ruin my life for her. Okay. So, of course, everybody wants to say, oh, well, see, men are hybristophiles too. No, they're not. I'll explain to you why that is the case. But I love how everybody like wants to like we have one example of a female a female serial killer. Now, here's going to be, I'll just give you a preview of that section today. The preview is that if that woman, I don't know her name, but if that chick gets a sort of a in-prison fan club of a bunch of guys going, hey, I want conjugal visits with you and I would love to marry you. And I know you're, Charles Manson, but I'd love to get, if that's the case, I will give it to you. I will give it to you, but that ain't going to be the case. Trust me on this. And I love how this goes. People go, well, there's more male serial killers. Like everybody wants to throw it back on the dude, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to, well, there's more male serial killers. If there were as many female serial killers, you would see that all these guys would start wanting to see these chicks in jail and prison. And it would be just like Richard Ramirez. And they would, blow kisses at them from the gallery at the courthouse. And it's like, no, it's not, because men and women are different. All right. And then I love how they always throw this idea out there. It's serial killers. Well, okay, serial killers, but that's not just what hybristophilia is limited to. Okay. It's serial killers. It's convicted rapists. It is felons. It is drug dealers. It is gang leaders. It is warlords over in, the Middle East. I mean, let's run through the list of felons and just basically criminals that we can possibly come up with. And you'll find a teenage fan club for pretty much all of them. So, but what you won't find is the same, let's say, concentration of men who have the same kind of like, hey, let's go and be pen pals with you in prison. It doesn't work that way. And I love this. The whole thing is that it brings up what today's topic is really about, which is this idea that if there is something that is an unflattering truth about women's nature, that men and women have to find some sort of counterbalance to that. There has to be a yang to the yin, right? So if I say, well, I've said this before, is not all women are hybristophiles, but only women are hybristophiles. I'm like, well, no, that's not true. Men could be it too. Here's one lone example. Man bites dog, right? Here's one lone example. The exception proves the rule. Doesn't matter. No one has that in their fucking head these days. And it's this logical fallacy that people just are desperately clinging to. They just won't let it go. Because if there's something that seems like it's a counterexample to the red pill, if there's something that seems like it could possibly I debunked the red pill with one incident, with one chick who happened to be a fucking serial killer. Oh, see? Erase 400 years of hybristophilia, right? Or ever since we knew about it, right? Erase all that, throw it all away. Or I'll tell you what's funny is if you want to establish a phenomenon or a dynamic or whatever, you have to spend, decades establishing that phenomenon, right? Like studying the phenomenon, establishing the dynamic, coming up with reasons for it, coming up with correlations, blah, 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 whatever. You have to have peer-reviewed, scientifically sound, fully vetted, funded by independent sources. It's got to be academic rigor has to be involved. All this stuff has to be there. And you have to do that over the course of 25 some odd years. I rack my brain on this because when I go and I look at somebody like Marty Hazelton, who has talked about ovulatory shift for 25, 30 plus years. Hey, we found one example that counters this. So fuck you, red pill guys. It's all over for you. That's all it takes. What is it? Is it in the military? What do they say? It's one oh shit erases 10 attaboys. That's your fucking mentality, man. Oh shit, yeah, forget it. It must not be true. Hey Rolo, what do you make of the Morbid Glee by some Morbid Glee? God, that's my next band name. Morbid, ladies and gentlemen, Morbid Glee.
Hit it with the voice.
By some, yeah, give it to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Morbid
By some with the unaliving of the healthcare executive in New York City. It's absurd to me, at least. Funny you should say that, because I'm going to talk about that today too. That's on the list of things to get to. I'm going to actually talk a little bit about Daniel Penny today. That's why he's the cover model of today's show, because I'm gonna sort of break a few. I'm going to present some unflattering truths about women today. I'm sorry, but that's where we have to go today. But so we're going to get into that a little bit. I want to get into hybristophilia a little bit today. But I'm kind of trying to give you sort of like the preamble and the preview here, because a lot of this all circulates around one defining principle, at least anyway, that's as far as I'm concerned right now, is this idea that if we can come up with one single counterexample for something that's been studied for 60 plus years and is, a very well established, phenomenon, dynamic, whatever it is. And by the way, it doesn't have to be ovulatory shift. It can be hybristophilia. It could be whatever. There's like these, it's almost, there's I forget the name of it, but there is a phenomenon or a meme or some sort of euphemism, I guess, for students who are in, like, say, the sciences, and then it could be social sciences, it could be psychology, whatever. And their primary motive for being in research sciences to begin with is to disprove the old white guys, to disprove the established ideas. Whether or not there's any merit to that makes no difference. You have some sort of noble cause to go and disprove the status quo, right? And I forget the name of it, but it's a very common phenomenon right now in most major universities, which, by the way, most people are like sort of like down on to begin with, right? But the idea is that you are only, like, students, research students are only interested in certain topics or interested in certain studies or in certain like fields and lines of research, not because they have like a genuine interest in it, or not because they're trying to sort of like develop something new or like come up with new ideas, come up with new concepts, come up with new dynamics. They're not in it for that. They're in it so they can disprove whatever they think is sort of ideologically counter to whatever it is that they're thinking. And I see this now filtering. Oh, I've been seeing it for a long time, but I see it filtering into these guys who are these academia intelligentsia kind of guys who want to be the gatekeepers of evolutionary psychology, and not just evo psych, but like sociology, anthropology, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so if I make an assertion, or if there's some sort of, if there's a dynamic in the red pill, if we talk about like war brides, if we talk about Alpha Widow. I talked about this 2 weeks ago. Everybody wants to say, oh, well, women don't actually, we did the surveys. We took a Twitter poll and we asked chicks, and here's what we got. And it looks to me like there's no such thing as alpha widows, because these chicks told us that they don't pine for anybody. Right. Meanwhile, we're looking at studies for like the quote unquote Plan B studies, where like you have they do these interviews of these women who have a quote unquote Plan B guy waiting in the wings in case their marriages or their boyfriends don't work out. And the boyfriends know about the Plan B guy too, right? So without taking the entirety of like the whole dynamic into account, or the variables that are involved in that, or what the corollaries to that, it's like we want to find some way to disprove the old order, or the old guys, or the old ideas, right? And to the exception of actually generating new ideas, to the exception of saying, well, maybe they're right, but here, let's add this, or let's add this caveat. Let's see if it works from this angle, whatever. We don't even get to those variations, because we're too interested in saying, fuck you. What you've proven and what you've shown us is counter to it hurt our feelings. It counter to our emotional investments in this ideology that your studies and your proposals and your concepts and these dynamics are making us feel bad. And so therefore, the only way we can sort of like counter that is to find some study, rejigger it, p-hack it, whatever we have to do to make sure that it fits with it. We can force fit it into, the square peg into the round hole, to force fit it into our ideological framework. And all it takes is one counter study. That's all. Only one. What do you got here? Which of your books would you recommend to someone who's going through a divorce? How far are they getting through the divorce? First of all, read the first one, Rational Redneck. Number 1 is the first book. I would say, in fact, I'm just going to say that. Go with the Rational Male, the first book, because everything else is based on, if they haven't read any of them, always start with the first. People ask me like, Rollo, what's the reading order for the Rational Male series? It's always number 1, and then whatever your interests happen to be. Okay. So if you like, I read Rollo's book, and I understand the red pill. I'm becoming more red pill aware. But I'm a born again Christian and I don't believe in premarital sex. Oh, guess what? Don't read anything else. Go read religion. That's why I wrote that, right? If you're like, well, Rollo, I wish I would have known this stuff before I did X, Y, and Z, then you're going to read number 2, which is preventive medicine, right? And so on. Or maybe you like say, you know what? Thanks for all this great advice and this great understanding and this great knowledge, Rollo. I want to get my dick wet. Player's Handbook. Just depends on what your interests happen to be. And in your buddy's case, definitely start with the first book, though. That's what I would say. Yeah. And by the way, thank you for throwing it. Yeah. The free essays on his website. Yeah. The ones I don't get paid for. Thanks, Matt. No, that's okay. That's what I love it when people like go, Rollo's just after he's a money grab. Dude, you realize all these were like pulled from essays off of my blog, right? You could go read them for free. I'm selling you the convenience of having them in a nice book format, Thank you very much. And I have been doing this for quite some time. I think some compensation might be in order. So I would say that. What did you say? Something. Oh, this was pretty good. What did you say? Something about Dr. Drew? Yes. Thanks for saying what I tell my friends and stuff to get off dopes. Exercise and do stuff with endorphins. Dr. Drew replace addiction, basically. Yeah, it more or less is when you're talking about sedating yourself. And I hate to even use the term sedation because I use it on purpose because it's a sort of a catch-all. It's not just about drugs. It's also about like your way of thinking. I told Mike this. I didn't even think about this until I started doing TRT. But I think once I got to like my 10th week of doing TRT, I was like, fuck, I get it now. Like I fucking understand. I totally get this now. And so I'm like, thank you. Okay. So I'm like, I totally fucking understand this now. And all you have to do, I think most guys, if you have this sort of like nihilistic sort of doom or hopeless like mindset, if you just like start doing TRT at the lowest dose, like, I don't know, 100 milligrams, right? If you get the lowest fucking dose and you start hitting the gym, I will guarantee within 4 to 8 weeks, you will have a completely different outlook on life. Completely different outlook on life. Oh, wait, hold on. Caps lock hustler. MGTOW is. Wait, give me the. MGTOW is better than your Red Pill. Fuck you. Okay, there you go. If you're going to do that in all caps, then that's how I'm going to read you. No, MGTOW is the practice, my friend. The red pill is the theory. MGTOW is just a practice. It's just, what should we do with all this knowledge? I don't know, nothing. Let's just go and do our own thing. Okay, that's men going their own way. That sounds to me like a practice. But get used to seeing more of those in the future because everybody's going to go MGTOW. I was on with Nuke yesterday. Nuclear Caldillo. He's part of the RAR squad on Twitter. I was on his show for about an hour and he was asking me what what I was getting my year-end predictions because I don't know. I might go on Rule 0 to just like for the year-end show. Don't quote me on that, but I might. I might make my triumphant return to Rule 0 for the end of the year show. But as long as Pearl's not on the show, I'll be happy to go. No, so he was asking about this, and he says, "What do you think is going to happen in 2025?" I said, "We're going to go MGTOW. Everybody's going to go MGTOW. We will return right back to where we started in 2021, which is when MGTOW Dictionary and all these other fuckwits are like, oh, fuck those dating roaches. They have all these programs in these books. Here's my book, The 48 Laws of MGTOW." And so I honestly, I think we're probably going to, and you'll probably see us fall away a little bit from the moralizing because Trump's in office, right? There'll be less to complain about, I think, in terms of conservatism versus liberalism. You're not going to see so many people complaining about Drag Queen Story Hour because there will be no Drag Queen Story Hour anymore. So what do you got to complain about? Absolutely nothing. Hi, Rollo. I broke up with this chick last week. But for some reason, the last 2 days, I've been thinking about her like crazy. I don't know how to stop. Would you like me to tell you how to stop? I'll tell you how to stop. Just stop being a little pussy. Stop being a little bitch. I'm going to go full Wes Watson on you. Oh, wait. Do I have that? Hold on. There.
I prefer a good cigar and a bad woman.
You have to go full Duke Nukem. No, here. So let me explain to you what you're going through right now. How long were you with this girl? Broke up with this girl last week. Okay. So what happens is when you break up with a chick, and women experience this to a lesser degree, mostly men, especially men who are like overly invested. Oh, she's my one. If you have one-itis, you caught feelings for this girl, you're probably going to experience this in a much more intense way than women necessarily would. Did you break up with her or did she break up with you? I don't know. You just said you broke up. So I'm going to assume either it was mutual or she broke up with you. Okay. So I might be wrong. But so if that's the case, what happens is when you break up with somebody, you are essentially breaking a cycle of reward. Okay. Now this is Rollo Tomassi, the behavioral psychologist speaking. What happens is the cycle of reward is you're getting all these good feelings when you're with that person, when you have sex with that girl, when you're with her. It's the feeling of infatuation. It is literally chemically the chemical signature of the hormones and I could show you the TED Talk if you really want me to go dig it up. The hormones that you feel and the endorphin rush and the dopamine and everything that comes from seeing that chick, from getting off with that girl, from being involved with her and having all that emotional investment with that girl, there is a chemical reward that like you produce yourself, right? That comes from seeing that girl, thinking about that girl, talking to that girl, fucking that girl, everything that has to do with her there, but by order of degree, incrementally, there's the good juju that comes with like physical endocrinology juju that comes with that. When she's gone, all that dies, all that's gone, right? You have what you've done is you've habituated. Well, I'm just going to use you. You are a rat. Okay. I don't mean that. I'm not being mean. I'm just saying you're a rat. Okay. What the rat does is he presses the lever and the pellet comes out. And so he does a set of behaviors, and it's always reliably gets the reward for doing the behavior, right? That's not intermittent, but I forget the name of it. It's just regular reward, right? You're always a continuous reward. Then you hit the lever a few times and one pops out, and hit another like 6 or 7 times and it pops out, right? That's intermittent reward. But what you've been doing is, since you've been with this chick for the time that you've been with her, you're getting that reward pretty continuously, and then it goes away. Okay. And what happens is when the rat is in the cage and it's pressing the lever and no pellet comes out, and the rat goes, what the fuck? And then it does 3 spins in a circle and it's, hail Jesus, and nothing happens, right? And then it runs from one end to the back and then back again to just see if that does something, and nothing comes out. He does all these novel behaviors to try to reestablish that reward that was coming out of the pellets, right? That's what's called an extinction burst. Okay. What an extinction burst is this, is once you're trying to extinguish like if you trained a behavior in an animal and you don't want that behavior anymore, it will have to go through this cycle of what's called an extinction burst. And what happens is it will go through all this novel behavior to try to reestablish the reward, and it's not coming. And so what happens is when you break up with a girl and you're not getting that reward, that dopamine hit from like fucking her or talking to her, or she ghosted you entirely, whatever, and you don't feel that anymore, what you try to do is novel behavior. That novel behavior for guys is usually, I'm going to go to the bar and get fucked up. That's what it is. Because because alcohol is mostly legal everywhere, right? So you want to go and reestablish that reward or something like that reward. And the closest thing you can get to that your monkey brain can think of is, I'm going to go drink and I'm going to get blackout drunk. And you wake up the next day and you fucking got a hangover and you feel like shit. And now you're still there. There's no reward. You're going to go through another extinction burst and you're going to go and fucking get hammered again because you're going to try to reestablish that. That's usually what people do, is they'll be drug use or be something else, right? So usually what happens is when people go through a bad breakup, that's when they start looking for chemical substitutes for that reward. So understand that you're going to be prone to doing that. Okay. So you don't know how to stop thinking about her. It's because you're trying to get that reward. And so after a while, you'll stop thinking. You have to learn what's called indifference. And as I was saying before in the beginning of the show, if you can, very similar to the gambling addiction thing, right? If you can substitute that reward, dopamine hit, that endorphin rush that you get, if you can substitute that with like going to the gym, that's much better than going to the bar, right? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to replace my emotional pain with physical pain. Much more healthy. I mean, you'll feel better, right? I'm going to go put myself into, pour myself into my work. I'm going MGTOW. I don't want to have anything. I'm going monk mode. That's it. That's why monk mode never works, because they're trying to replace like the dopamine hit and the endorphin rush that they got from the girl. And it's still nothing, right? Monk mode here's monk mode. This is your monk mode. Okay. By the way, masturbation, pornography is another sedation, right? So you're trying to replace that good feeling and that good juju that you got from her with another dopamine, endorphin producing behavior. So the best way I can tell you to get over that is you will eventually, because the behavior will extinguish after a while. And then, of course, I'm going to tell you the common wisdom, which is the best way to get over a girl is to get under 10 more. So, or whatever it is. I don't know. So get yourself out there. Don't isolate. Isolation is dangerous. The way to stop thinking about her is to find somebody else to think about, or something else to replace that. Be occupied with something else. So it's not hard once you realize the biochemical nature of depression, the biochemical nature of euphoria, the biochemical nature of dopamine, endocrine. And again, I'm not an endocrinologist. I don't play one on the internet. I am not a brain surgeon. Please don't come to me because you want a lobotomy. I could probably give you a lobotomy. I don't know. Here you go. What is it with big AAA studios antagonizing men, especially white men? Why are they so obsessed with absurd race swap in games, etc.? AC Shadows? What's AC Shadows? Is that a PS5 game? I don't know. AC Shadows? Somebody will figure that one out. Well, because we have had such a wokesy narrative for you want to know why you have like ugly chicks in your video games? You can't have big titties in your games anymore. I'm sorry, unless you have like some sort of like mod or some sort of skin that you can. Assassin's Creed. Okay, is it wokesy? Is Shadows? I have been very well versed in the video ever since I got my PS5, and I've been playing Space. Here's the solution to your problem: go play Space Marine 2. Solves everything. No chicks, just armor and bolters. That's all you need, man. Tyranids, armors, and bolters. That's all you know. Like fuck the rest of it. That's your solution. Why are they doing that? Because they think that they should. And by they, I'm going to be more specific because I don't want people to think they is who you think it is. People like Disney, for example, when Disney picked up the Marvel franchise, when they finally bought out Fox, By the way, this is now a Disney franchise. I hate to say it, but goddamn, the bitch is now a Disney franchise. Shocked the shit out of me. I went to the Disney Channel because I wanted to see when that new Andor Part 2 was coming out.
Yeah.
I think because I liked that series, I could watch that. And Alien Romulus is on Disney. Like, holy shit! But because they own Fox, and Alien is a Fox franchise, right? Well, the reason why they do shit like that, and I realized this when the Captain Marvel movie came out, and it had Brie Larson was in it, and they launched it on March 8th. What is March 8th? March 8th is International Women's Day, and it was all about intersectional feminism. In fact, she even used the word intersectional feminism when introducing the new Marvel movie, which was probably the single biggest Marvel flop to that date. Now, there have been bigger ones, obviously. But at that point, there had been no like real. I still have not seen that movie. I've not seen the Ms. Marvel or Marvel or whatever it is, Captain Marvel. I haven't seen it. Don't have any interest in seeing it whatsoever. But the reason why they do is because they are willing to take a loss. The big like media companies like that are willing to take a loss because it's not about making money. It's about spreading a narrative. That's what it's really about. So that's why you want to know why you don't have big titties in video games, or all the girls are like ugly as shit. Because they don't want you to think that they don't want well, first of all, they want to avoid the sexism. I think now that Trump's in office, maybe now we get some like real Laura Crofts, right? We get some real titties in there, right? But because the narrative is more important than making money, because they make more. They don't care if they lose money. In fact, I've argued this with Mike and a few other people on the Sable brothers. The reason why the sort of gender swap movies suck is because what they're trying to do, the writers are trying to do, is they're trying to take a male character and put tits and a vagina on a male character, because they don't understand the hero's journey. Like if you look, I'm just going to use, I've said this before, but I think maybe it's worth repeating. If you look at like the new Star Wars, right? The Kennedy era Star Wars. What's her name? Something Kennedy? Kathleen Kennedy. Anything she touches turns to shit. Okay. because it starts with a bad ideology. It's not imaginative. There's no idea behind it. There's no creativity behind it. There's no real inspiration behind it. It's just, we're going to take over Star Wars. Why did they kill Han Solo in the first movie? Because he's the last vestige of the Captain Kirk, happy-go-lucky, that masculinity, that patriarch. They would say patriarchal. So they have his angst-ridden piece of shit son stab him with a lightsaber, right? And the character's over. Stupid. And maybe Harrison Ford was glad to be out of that role. I don't know. But like, there's a reason. There's a symbolic reason why they killed Han Solo in the first, and halfway through the movie, right? And Chewbacca's just like, whatever, I'm like, no, Chewbacca, go rip his head out, pull his arm out. Right? But that doesn't happen because they don't care about the characters. They don't care about the franchise. They care about the narrative. That's all they have. What's the chick, Laura Dern, who was in the other movies that she's had the purple hair? I don't remember her name. We always call her Space Karen.
Space Karen, yeah.
So what happens is this, and I'll just tell you why they ruin it, because men must become and women just are. And the reason why I've said this, I have a full chapter of this in one of the books. Men must become, women just are. Men have a burden of performance. That's why the hero's journey works for male characters, because it's this process and it's this journey of becoming something from nothing, from being the Luke Skywalker who farms moisture from Tatooine, and now he suddenly becomes a Jedi Master, right? It's that story arc. You guys are, it's the oldest one in the book. I don't think I need to, narrate how the hero's journey works. The thing is the reason why everybody said Rey from the new Star Wars was a Mary Sue character is because she never went through all of that. She just had this magical ability to have a lightsaber, and she suddenly knows how to use it, right? She figures shit out for herself. She doesn't need teaching. She doesn't need instruction. She just knows how to do things, right? And that's how women think men are. Because, as Richard Cooper has said many times, is that women don't care about men's struggles. They wait at the finish line and they fuck the winners. Well, if the character has to be the winner herself, there's no struggle. They just think that men just arrive as this perfect winner package. There is no Luke Skywalker as, the kid in Tatooine and the farmer. He's always been the Jedi Master. And so there's never any hero's journey, because women just are and men must become. And so they don't understand the journey of becoming. And so that's why you get Mary Sue characters. That's why you have the girl who just simply knows how to do stuff, because they think that's how guys are. They're just born into it like that, and they're not. And so that's why those stories fall flat and they suck. And that's why you have flat-chested, characters, and that's why your video games suck as well. Because the people who are writing the narratives and the stories behind that don't know how to write a heroic narrative anymore. They don't know how to write a character like Captain Kirk, or if they do, if there's a few handful of people who still remember how to do it, they're scared shitless to do it, or they've been scared shitless to do it for a long time because they don't want to get canceled and lose their jobs, right? So one of the bright shining hopes, and people are probably I don't know if you're gonna hack up and discuss. I happen to like who's the guy? Taylor Sheridan from. He wrote Yellowstone, 1823. Is it 1823?
Yeah,
1821, 23. And then the other one, 1920.
1886.
18 something. Anyways,
yeah.
All of that. He wrote Tulsa King. He wrote Lioness, which, by the way, is not a bad flick. It's kind of like, girl power kind of shit. But
Landman.
But the thing is like, he doesn't write weak ass male characters. Like even the house husband is still a fucking surgeon.
Yep.
That. Like
still a badass in his field.
He's still a badass in his field. He doesn't fuck around with his male characters. That's what I love about Taylor Sheridan. Landman. If you haven't, by the way, if you haven't seen Landman, go see Landman. Is fucking
on Paramount.
Awesome, great show with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yep.
Such and Ali Larter is a piece of ass. My wife's gonna hear me say that. She's a piece of ass in that show. Really great show, and it's no nonsense, no bullshit either. And like when he has his rants, like the one thing I like about Taylor Sheridan is he kind of wedges in like how things used to be and how things are.
Yeah, it's
in every character, in every story, in every plot line, even in Tulsa King, which is relatively a comedy. He's always putting in sort of like old school wisdom into this stuff, and you kind of have to be there for it when it happens. But like Billy Bob Thornton he's the landman. He's the guy who's working in Midland, Texas, and he's a gas man, right? And his son, by the way, is working on rigs and stuff. And his daughter is just like, just
smoke show.
17-year-old smoke show. Yeah. But he's explaining to this one lawyer about like wind power, right?
Yeah,
and he's saying, it took more petroleum to create these stupid windmills than it will ever, repay in like, I don't know, 10 or 20 years, something like that. And then I love this. It's just like, seems like common sense. He says, if the gas companies or the energy companies thought that this was the solution to our energy problems, all of Midland would be covered with these things. He's like, he's kind of right. Yeah. And it's a really, really great show. But I love Taylor Sheridan because he writes good characters. And even when he has to have the strong female, character and stuff, there are no weak male characters. Yep. And usually what happens is, again, in video games and certainly in Disney and stuff like that, there has to be this counterbalance of, the male character is the damsel in distress and the female character is the hero that's doing the saving, right? And that sucks and nobody likes that shit. But Taylor Sheridan, even when he's writing, like Lioness, it's very much girl power. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I do watch this occasionally because it's Taylor Sheridan. I like him. Yeah. But even the male characters that are in that show are still pretty badass dudes. So there you have it. What you got? Dark Knight Dev. Rolo, I've been living in New York City my whole life. Time to leave. Between the Daniel Penny incident and the healthcare CEO getting lit up, he got more than lit up. How could I defend myself? in a firearm-free zone. You can't. That's how you do it. A firearm-free zone. Do they have firearm-free zones in New York City? I thought everything was. Dude, you ever watch Escape from New York with Snake Plissken? You're not going to defend yourself. That's just it. And let's get on to Daniel Penny, because that's why I meant to talk about him. I really kind of need to launch off with this guy. Daniel Penny just got, the reason I wanted to bring this up is my wife, of all people, has been following this story with the Daniel Penny case. And it just got, the charges for manslaughter just got dismissed this morning. So he's off the hook for that, but he's probably going to have a civil case that's coming at him. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say he's probably going to beat the odds on that one too. So, and then like, why would you want to sue this guy? Does this guy look like the kind of guy who has a lot of money that you can go after in a civil case? The dude was on the subway, for fuck's sake. It's not like he was driving a Lamborghini or something, right? So, I mean, he was on there. Is this, let's see. Are there people, what is this? What do you say? There are people not being happy with Marvel Rivals. Guess why? Because it's not woke. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah. They can be not happy with it all they want. Here's just to put a period at the end of the whole movie thing. I've said this God knows how many different times. If you want better stories, write them your fucking self. Ryan Stone just wrote, and I feel bad because I kept saying I'm writing some fiction. I have some fiction that I'm working on right now. You want shit to change? You want your video games to have big titties in it? You want to write the fucking shit yourself. Make your own band, man. Make your own stories, write your own novels. You could anybody can self-publish. Nobody wants to create content now. I hate even to use content. Nobody wants to create anymore because everything is created for them. Everything is creative for you now. So, in fact, I'm being creative for you right now while you're listening to this. Hopefully you're at the gym. Or maybe I thank you for watching. Thank you for your super chats. I appreciate it. For your support, because this is all supported by you. This is user supported, Rational Mail. But the idea is, if you want better stuff, write the book that you want to read, write the comic book you want to read, make the movie you want to make, write the characters you want to have out there. I think one of the reasons, like Taylor Sheridan, fucking hey, how many shows does this motherfucker have?
He's been on he started with Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
because he was a cop in there. He got kicked out for that. And then he makes just millions and millions and millions of dollars just making all
like
these
Paramount
shows.
Network is the Taylor Sheridan network.
Yes.
Like that's every single show. It's just about every one. Did he write Fire Country too?
I'm not sure.
Is that one of his? I don't know. That's a series. It's kind of schmaltzy, but it's okay. It's like old school TV. It's like A-Team style TV is what it is. That's kind of what I like. No, he's got, let's see, he's got Landman, he's got Lioness, he's got all Yellowstone, he's got all the Yellowstone spinoffs, Tulsa King,
Mayor of Kingstown,
and then by the way, he directs at least half of these too. So I'm like, damn, man.
He started with
he's
Sicario.
Like, Sicario, yeah. He's like, he reminds me of Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton used to do exactly that. Michael Crichton is the only author who had, or the only individual, I guess, who had a #1 book, a #1 movie, and a #1 TV series in the same year. He wrote ER. He had The Lost World, which is the book, and then I think he had Jurassic Park or something like that when it was going on at that time. He's the only guy to have all of those. It was just this is work dynamo.
Yeah,
I kind of see Taylor Sheridan as a Michael Crichton kind of dude. What is it? He owns the 666 Ranch in Texas. All right.
Yeah, he basically made Paramount pay for everything. That's why a lot of stuff's done on the ranch. So his horses and everything get paid for.
Oh, see? There you go. That's how you do it. So anyways, the final period on the end of that story. Write the stories you want to see. And I think what's interesting is like you will find out that if you start doing these things and people like take a chance on you, or you independently publish them, or you independently fund them, or you whatever, and they start to take off and people really like them. Like I forget who was doing this. I forget. There was an interview of this one guy who was like, I think it was he was a fashion director or something like that. But he was talking about music. He was talking about fashion. He says, people didn't want punk rock, but they got it anyways and they loved it, right? Mm-hmm. If you took punk rock and you were trying to go through some corporate thing and say, hey, we really want to put this out there now, it would never get funded, right? But people didn't know they needed punk rock back in the day. They didn't know they needed Slayer back in the day. They didn't know that they needed, albums from bands that we would have said today really suck. And then now they're iconic bands, right? And that's just in a music, situation, but art, fashion, everything else, you throw it at the general public. If they love it, it takes off. If they don't, it doesn't. They're the ultimate arbiter of anything that's artistic, cultural, fashion, music, art, whatever it is. They're the ones that make the decision. So write that story, pitch that story, pitch that movie, whatever. And at some point, people are going to respond to it.
Creed and Nickelback.
Yes, you're correct. Slayer isn't a basic necessity. It is. It's like oxygen. And I was listening to Slayer on the way in today. Creed and Nickelback. No, they are not basic necessity. All right. So, anyways, I want to talk about Daniel Penny. So Daniel Penny he beat the rap, I guess. They dropped the charges for manslaughter. And the reason I wanted to bring him up is because there is. I had a lot of people asking me questions about why is it that guys feel like they need to sort of step in and defend Milady's honor, right? And I think there's sort of this mismatch between understanding the social dynamics of that and sort of the evolved psychology of that. So I'm going to read you from you can find this on my Substack here, but I think why am I pushed over here? Okay. I guess I can do this here. Let's push, I'll show it to you here. No, not that. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. This is from my Substack. Okay. And this is actually let's just say this is a derivative essay from a chapter that's in my book, Religion. Okay. And where is it? There we go. Okay. And this is called Big Head Babies. Okay. Now I'm sure you guys have already heard me talk about big head babies before. Now, big head babies is a evolutionary psychology concept. And I wanted to read this and just sort of review this a little bit. You can find this on my Substack. I think this might even be a free one. So look, there's baby MODOK right there. Okay. So who is my favorite Marvel villain on top of everything else. Okay. So most women fancy themselves as alpha females by order of degree, but they never really understand what the strong, independent brand they're identified with is based on a masculine dynamic. Okay, I talked about the difference between alpha females and all this other good stuff in the past. I think I was just talking about it just recently, but the reason why there is no such thing as an alpha female. Okay. Now, I'm going to just scoot ahead a little bit here. And I said, this is an old order narrative, instills a sense of empowerment in women based on false narratives. They're taught to resist any easily hated straw man of masculinity, and one made all the easier to knock down in our globalized 24-hour online consciousness. Hypergamy is dualistic, alpha seed, beta need, cads versus dads. But half of that desire, the desire for protection, provisioning, and parental investment, emotional investment, familiarity, and comfort from men is rooted in a need for security. And that's where we're going to start with the Daniel Penny dynamic today. Okay. So while women hate to be called the weaker sex, biologically, evolutionarily, nature or God has made women the more vulnerable sex. The realities of our ancestral past dictated that women and their offspring were dependent on men for protection from a chaotic, dangerous world. That need for security is something women still innately seek in today's men. All right. Why is that? Now I'm going to stop here just for a brief moment. One of the things that really kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, is that there's this stupid understanding, or maybe it's not stupid. There's this bonehead social constructed idea that because we have Glocks and we have powerful weapons right now, that we don't need security. We don't need men to protect us anymore. Why would we need men to protect us? How dare you? Right? We don't need men I can do I would choose the bear in the forest instead of the man in the forest, right? Because I don't want to be, I would trust an animal before I'd trust this other animal, right? And so there's this idea that there is no need for women to, like, men are superfluous, as Dr. Phil knows. But there's no need in a technologically advanced society for men to feel the responsibility to protect women. And like, if you go back and you look at, say, like a story like Titanic, where you have men who would rather go down with the ship than get on a lifeboat and save their own lives, which, by the way, there was plenty of room on a lot of these lifeboats. They found out that men would rather go down with the ship in dishonor than to be seen as cowardly in getting on the boats, right? Women and children first. Right? That has changed quite a bit since then, since women have become empowered and feminism has destroyed chivalry and, yada, yada, yada. But those are all social constructs. Those aren't based on evolutionary principles. So what I'm going to get into right now is based on evolutionary principles. Okay, that need for security is something women still innately seek in men today. Why? Because human babies have giant heads. Eggs are expensive and sperm is cheap. If you have even a passing interest in intersexual dynamics, no doubt you've read this somewhere before. Even if you haven't, if you're a new religious reader, or you probably have some learned or instinctual grasp of men's duty for sacrifice. And remember, the biological evolutionary impetus of this inspires the moralistic, the social side of this. What is your masculine duty? Your masculine duty is to protect milady's honor. Your masculine duty is to beat the fuck out of that guy on the subway before he kills women or before he hurts somebody. And it is you're a man, you're supposed to do that. Well, there's a biological evolutionary element to that as well as a social element to that. Okay. Here we go. Even if you haven't, particularly tradcons want men to be men and long for a golden era of traditional gender roles. But how did those roles get defined? While a lot of guys in the New Order question men's obligations for self-sacrifice in a social context, evolution has designated men as the disposable sex. So you have women as the vulnerable sex, men are the disposable sex or the sacrificial sex, especially if that disposability leads to promulgating the human species. Men are the ones who sacrifice. They're the martyrs. They're the ones who sacrifice themselves because women are the incubators of the next generation. Nature, it seems, takes far more risks with males of virtually every species. But why are eggs expensive and sperm so cheap? Beyond the obvious answer of one egg cell versus millions of sperm cells, the answer is simple. Human babies have giant heads, and it goes something like this. Here we go. Human beings survive by being smart. To make an intelligent brain, you need a lot of neurons. To make a lot of neurons, you need to start early in the gestation process. This means that human babies have giant heads. But you also need to get those babies out of their mothers. So their mothers need inefficiently wide hips, sophisticated brain incubators, and many other expensive reproductive system modifications. Thus, human females are vulnerable and physically helpless compared to most males. You also have to deliver those babies early while their heads are still small enough to fit through those widened hips. As such, every human baby is essentially born premature and requires a comparatively long time to reach self-sufficiency. For comparison, think about infant horses, and they can run in a few hours after birth, so they can get away from danger and they at least somewhat instinctively understand their surroundings. In our ancestral past, a human female was vulnerable, inefficient, weaker, a physical specimen who, for much of her life, carried around one or more weak and delicate offspring. Neither could run, fight, or hunt. Now, have things changed since then? Obviously. We have formula, we have protection, we have houses, we have indoor heating, we have dishwashers, all this other good stuff. So don't go there just yet. Okay. Unlike females of other species, human females constantly depend on males to protect, feed, and care for them. Thus, the provisioning security needs side of hypergamy became a critical priority. All right. So, as a result, human females also acquired some of the fragility and the importance of humanity's costly and fragile children through proximity. So if women are the ones who are doing the nurturing and doing the raising and doing the protection, and because they are the vulnerable sex and they're the gestators of the next generation, That's where this comes from. Now we need men to be men. We need men to protect. We need men to provide. We need men. Like one of the things I've said, and I think this is pretty much cross-cultural, to be a man, like one of these conventional masculinity aspects, is to produce more resources than you expend and to be generous with them. And to, like, that's one of the reasons why monogamy and like all of this sort of romanticism that sort of surrounds monogamy right now is really founded on the beta bucks side of the hypergamous equation: provisioning, protection, and parental investment. That parental investment means you have to have the provisioning so that you can be invested in the parenting as well. So you've got to create more resources than you expend. So therefore you can take those resources, surplus resources, and then you can devote those to a wife and children, or wives in the past, and children. Okay. So now a problem arises in this reality. How do you prevent the males from tyrannizing the females to the detriment of the species? By imbuing males with the same protective instincts towards them that women have towards children. This is an instinct. The male protection instinct is something that is written into the human male DNA. It's written into our hard code. It's written into our evolutionary firmware to want to protect the woman. If the woman's crying, let's go and protect. What's wrong? The baby's crying, what's wrong? The man is crying, fuck him. Nobody cares, right? Like, I love it when people go, well, male vulnerability is really a strength. No, from an evolutionary perspective, it's a weakness. Nobody cares. Like that one guy, I forget who it was. I was saying, men need to talk about their feelings. We do. Nobody cares. Because we're guys. Men must become, women just are. So when we see a man crying and shedding a tear, we look at it as a form of weakness. We go, oh, what a bitch. That's bitch behavior. Well, what's a bitch? A bitch is a woman, right? A bitch, a female dog, right? But what is bitch behavior? What's gossip? What is it? Oh, that's bitch behavior. Yeah, because the behavior emulates female behavior. So shedding a tear, being vulnerable, crying, being hysterical, like being reflexively, reacting and stuff like that. That's bitch behavior. Well, we socially we say, oh, stop being a little bitch. That's why Wes Watson leads with that. Stop being a little bitch. Don't be a little bitch. Right? Stop. Man up. Right? Man up. Right? Well, what are the aspects? What are the conventional aspects of masculinity? Right? Protection, strength. I need strength to protect. Right? I need to be able to develop more resources. I need wealth. I need affluence at the very least. However I get it might be questionable, but produce more resources than you expend so that you can be parentally invested, so that you can protect, so that you can provide. Those are all those beta bucks. Again, don't think of in this term, think of beta as like, oh, it's weak. I'm just saying that's the opposite side, or the other half of the hypergamous equation. The other half is alpha fucks, obviously. All right. So how do you prevent now? Okay. So we've already talked about that. By imbuing males with the same protective instinct towards them that women have towards children. So men, one of the things that people really grate on, like feminists and really great on people who are unfamiliar with the red pill. Put me back up again. Put me up there. One of the things that really grates on critics of the, especially female trad femme females, absolutely hate this shit. And I understand why, because they're just ignorant. I don't mean dumb. I'm just saying you're ignorant of the fact that for that protective instinct to exist in a man, that man has to view that woman as a child, at least in some way, like helpless, vulnerable. I need to protect the woman. I need to protect the child, and I need to protect the woman. That's instinctive to men. It is a male protection dynamic, really. But the reason why, see what happens is people who are unfamiliar with the red pill, they go, those red pill guys think that women are children and they should be treated as children, and they're just idiots and they're just walking around like 10-year-olds. No, that's not where this comes from. Now, there are people, I'm not going to name names, there are people who take that to the nth degree and say, well, women are basically idiots, so you have to treat them like idiots. I've never said that. I will never say that. I don't think women are idiots. I think they're probably a whole lot smarter than we give them credit for. But the fact is that men, because we have this protector dynamic, we have this instinctual understanding of, if I'm going to protect this woman, she has to be like a child. She has to have at least some aspect of the same fragility and vulnerability as a child, as an infant. So is the woman an infant? No. Is she stupid? Is she dumb like a 5-year-old child? No. But the instinct to protect, the instinct that exists in the man to want to be the provider, the protector, to have that purpose is instinctive, is written into your DNA. It is written into the hard code in your brain over the course of 200,000 years. That's where the childlike qualities of women come into play. Are women children? No, they're not. And they should be held accountable and they should be treated as adults. But men still have this understanding and this instinctive, part of their psyches that sees women as some sort of fragile child that needs to be protected. And women hate the fuck out of that until they're on a subway and some guy says, I'm going to kill every chick that's on this subway. And a dude steps up and he goes and beats the hell out of him, right? Maybe kills him. Then that guy is appreciated. Thank you. You did your masculine duty. Now, I'm going to throw this one out here before I continue on. And Tim Pool got himself in a lot of hot water when this was happening, but I think it was right around like May or June of this year. And there was this rash of guys, young males, walking around, running around New York or Manhattan or wherever the hell they were, and they were just randomly smashing like women in the face. They were just punching in the face, and they go. And Tim Pool's like, good. And now, being facetious about this, because this is basically the policies that that the women who were getting smashed in the face were voting into to be. Now, why do we say that? Because at the same time this was going on, or like always just maybe immediately after this, was when Daniel Penny got picked up and for doing what? Trying to defend women on a subway from a violent guy who would have probably smashed them in the face, right? So what do you want, ladies? Do you want traditional masculinity to the point? Because you don't get it two ways. You don't get him to be the sacrificial, defender of your physical person, and have him be some sort of vulnerable, sensitive, man bun barista who's gonna, sit there and listen to you bitch and moan about stuff. That's your girlfriend. What do you want? Do you want a defender? Do you want a man? Or do you want somebody who's going to have bitch behavior, right? So guys have said this before, is like that, guys in the sphere anyways have said this before, is that when I would say feminism, but women today want it both ways, right? They want old order responsibility from men, but they don't want men to have any old order authority over men. They don't want men to have they'll give them authority up to a point and then snatch it away and take it away. And everything's supposed to be 50-50 until, like you've heard Myron say this a million times, until there's an intruder downstairs and it's her turn to go take the baseball bat and go down and smack the intruder, right? That doesn't happen. Or you have what's his face from It's Complicated. He's the guy that does the On the Street video. John, he's really good. I gotta get him in here. But he asks women, like, why is it my responsibility to defend you if some violent criminal on the street like comes and tries to beat the hell out of you or takes your purse or whatever? Well, you're the man. That's where this is coming from. That you're the man, that's a societal social construct, but it's based on the male protector dynamic. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to want to do that. So when and God forbid, we had 77 people die in this mass shooting here in Las Vegas back in 2017 at that country, which is actually not too far from here, at that country venue, when it was at the MGM and the guy was like gunning down everybody at the concert. You had guys who would basically put themselves physically in front of women and take bullets for women that they didn't even know. They had no idea who they were. They would just say, hey, shoot me instead. And they were literally taking bullets. There was incidents in Aspen, Colorado, when James Holmes opened fire inside the theater. You had men who would instinctively, they don't think about it, then they go, well, feminism and equal rights says I don't have to do that. That doesn't happen. It's instinct. It's just like you just throw yourself physically in front of it, because the woman is is the incubator of the next generation. If you have time to think about it, you might say, fuck that. You go take care of you make your own damn money, girl. There was a cruise ship. It was the Costa Concordia, and I think it was 2014. I wrote an essay about this on the Rational Mail. It wasn't the Titanic, that's for damn sure, but the thing ran aground and it was starting to list, and so it was going down. This thing was going down, but it was going down slow. So, they had time to evacuate everybody out, but they didn't know that. The passengers didn't on the Concordia. They didn't know that. So you had all these guys, all these men are like, fuck it. They're like climbing over women and children just to get out. They didn't care. And they didn't care because they had time to think. They're like, I'm good. I'm going to get off. I'm going to get on that lifeboat right there and get out of here. Right. It wasn't women and children first. It was every man, woman, child for themselves is what it was, because they had time to think about it. If you don't have time to think about it, if James Holmes opens up with an automatic weapon or whatever it is in the Aspen, Colorado theater, you don't have time to think about it. You throw yourself physically in front of the woman and take the bullet. You don't even know why you did it. I've seen closed circuit TV. I wish I would have queued this up. I've seen closed circuit TV security cam footage of this one guy who was in a club. I don't know where it was. I think it might have been in Los Angeles or New York, something like that. Guy was in a club, and there was a girlfriend and a boyfriend. They were fighting back and forth. Like looked like he was pretty violent, right? And he was fighting, and this one guy's kind of sitting there watching this whole thing play out, and it looks like he's gonna get physical with the girl. And the guy who was sitting there watching gets in front of him and comes between him, like, hey, you leave her alone, instinctually gets between the two of them. And then the boyfriend pulls out a gun, blows the dude away. He falls down, he's dead. And the girl and the guy get together and they leave together out of the club. And the reason why it was notable during that time is because everybody goes, don't be a white knight. Well, I don't think that was in his mind when he was doing this. I think he was just instinctively responding to violence against a woman. And women depend on this as well. So if you ever look at if you see some of these videos, you'll probably see them on Twitter or whatever. You see these videos where a guy just clocks this chick, right? 10 dudes that you didn't even see it fly in from off camera, and they just start pummeling and beating the fuck out of this guy, right? And that dynamic, understanding that if women, I think today have sort of a false sense of security when it comes to this shit, but there's this idea that if you get physical with a woman, any guy within earshot is going to run to her defense and beat the fuck out of you. And I think women maybe falsely believe that that's going to happen for them. As I said, if men have the time to think about it, they might not want to go defend Milady's honor, right? But if it's instinctual and it's right there in the moment, you might put yourself in front of a violent boyfriend and a girlfriend, and that violent boyfriend might gun you down. You don't know today. And so thinking about it beforehand is really the difference between the instinctive evolved protector dynamic and bitch, you're on your own. You wanted equal whites, you equal lefts too, right? I mean, that's the mentality. And we think about it and it's funny, or we kind of, are stupidly, morbidly entertained by it. But that's because we have time to think about it while we're watching. If we were right there in the moment, we might have done the same fucking thing, because that's just how our fucking instinctual monkey brains work. Okay. So let me keep going. So I've already said this. Now, the problem arises, how do you prevent the males from tyrannizing the females to the detriment of the species, imbuing males with the same protective instinct towards them that women have towards children? So ergo, men treat women as on an instinctual hindbrain, lizard brain level, men treat women or have an instinct towards women that they have towards children. Now, here we go. How do you prevent the female from exploiting that protective instinct to take advantage of males, or from making themselves unprotectable by ignoring male guidance? By imbuing women with the same instinctive obedience towards men that children have towards women. Okay. So if you have a child that is obedient and does what mommy says, there is an instinctive need or desire on the part of women to look up to a dominant man. That's why you have women saying, I need a dominant guy. I need a man's man. I need a guy who's going to step up and take. That's why like dominant male conventionally masculine characteristics in a man's personality are attractive to a woman. Why? Because he is someone that a woman can instinctively be obedient to. And I don't mean that in terms of like he's going, oh, you're going to do what I say, bitch. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the desire of that woman to look for a man who will give her guidance, to trust that guy, to be so much. And again, we're not talking about submission here. I hate the term submission. You'll rarely hear me say women need to submit to men. Fuck that. Take that religious shit back to wherever you found it. Okay. Deference to a man's authority. That's what I'm talking about. Obedience to that man's guidance. Hey, maybe you don't want to go in the forest where the bear is. How dare you tell me where I should go? I'm a woman I'm an alpha female. I'll do the fuck I want. And then they get mauled by the bear, and then it makes it onto Twitter. And then we start talking about, well, I'd trust a bear before I trust a man. Well, you should have trusted the man that said, don't go near the fucking bear. Do you know where that came from? You know where that video was? For the whole thing that started the conversation with the bear in the forest and the guy is there was a guy who told this woman, say, hey, don't go near that bear. I think they were in Tennessee, like a Blue Mountains was in Tennessee.
I think so.
And he said, you don't go near that bear because the bear is going to fuck you up. Right. And she's like, how dare you tell me what to do? Blah, blah, like getting all like, attitude and stuff, goes out to the bear mauls the woman. And then, so what happens is that video was viral on Twitter and said, see, you should have listened to the guy. The guy's wise enough to say, hey, you just don't want to listen to masculine guidance. Maybe, she's just been brought up on feminism and gynocentrism to the point where she's not going to trust. I don't trust any man. I don't need a man. I want a man, but I don't need a man. I don't need him so much so that I need his advice not to go and fuck with a bear, right? Don't fuck with a bear. I've lived in Lake Tahoe long enough to know you do not fuck with bears. Okay. Don't fuck with tigers. Don't fuck with dangerous animals. Don't fuck with sharks. Okay. Don't swim with sharks. I don't care how alpha or female you are. You're going to get ate. I like the ones where like the woman decided that she's going to go jump in the polar bear pond because it's a fuzzy polar bear. It was just on Twitter. Ate the woman. Should have listened to the guy. How dare you? Wait, do I have that? There.
How dare you?
But that's where it comes from. Is an instinctive desire for a man that a woman can trust. And that's what I think really what feminism and gynocentrism has done over the last 60 some odd years, is it has eroded that trust between men and women, where a man says, hey, look, I'm the one I know what violence is about. I'm bigger than you, stronger than you, faster than you. I have, I got a lot going for me. Okay. So can you like maybe trust my, authority, trust my guidance and my wisdom here? I know I'm a man, and we're supposed to be 50-50. That whole thing about being egalitarian and 50-50, that's ruined, or it has come in between, or it's been a sort of a buffer, let's just say, between women being able to trust a man, or looking for a man that they can trust, that they can be obedient to. And by obedience, I mean defer to his authority and defer to his wisdom and defer to his guidance. Do what I say, not because I'm an asshole and I'm a patriarchal son of a bitch or a tyrant, but because I know what I'm fucking talking about. Can you just please do that? Like, remember when the Tinder swindler was going off and that one chick was like saying, oh, hey, if she even tweets her friends or messages her friends, say, hey, I met this guy on Tinder. I'm going to go get on his private jet right now 45 minutes after meeting the guy, and maybe some of her girlfriends were like, I don't know, girl. But oh no, it's Prince Charming, and it was this fairy tale and everything else. And my first instinct when I saw it, I'm like, where the fuck is her dad? Where the fuck is her uncle? Where the fuck is her brother? Where the fuck is any man that's going to say, what the fuck are you talking about? You're going to get on this guy. He could sell you into white slavery. He's going to fly you off to somewhere, some third world country, and sell you into
straight to Estonia.
Into prostitution. Yeah, straight to Estonia. But I was my friend. This maybe it's just me, but as a father, like if my daughter said, "Daddy, I just met this guy on Tinder, and he wants to fly me to Bulgaria or wherever the fuck they were going or whatever," like that. I met him 45 minutes ago on Tinder. I'm like, "Oh no, you're not. I will go and like physically grab her and bring her back and like lock her down and tell that guy to go fuck himself." Right? Well, we don't have that anymore. Because first of all, guys are scared shitless to even say, "Well, I wouldn't want to ruin your romantic chances, honey. Go right ahead, Tell him I said hi." The Mossad agent whose father was a diamond merchant. Yeah, tell him hey, come on, man. But there's no guidance. And these are women who, if you were to, and women in general, if you were to say, "Hey, I don't think that's a good idea." "Fuck you, Dad. I'm going off with the bear." The bear being the Tinder swindler in this case. Right? So when we use terms like submission, like I said, I don't like the term submission. I rather work with deference or obedience or guidance. Those sound like way better terms than just "I'm going to submit to me, bitch." This is not Archie Bunker. Okay. So when we talk about this, remember, I'm not talking about this from a social aspect or like a social constructed aspect. I'm looking at this from an evolved human nature aspect. Okay. So when women say they want a dominant man, they want a guy who is women can't look up to a man who is their equal. Okay. You've heard this a billion times. Like women want a guy who's stronger than them, tougher than them, taller than them, makes more money than them, more than them, but still considers himself the equal of the girl. And the funny thing is, if the guy is, "You know what? I know I'm all of that, but I really feel like I'm your equal. We're equals." That guy who says we're equals, all that stuff just collapses as soon as he says that, because she wants the guy who still has the attitude and still is cocky enough and understands that he understands his own value. If a guy doesn't understand his own value, then that's incongruent with what his real value happens to be. So, all right, let's keep going. So because humans have giant heads, men instinctively protect and care for women. Say that again, children. Instinctively care and protect women. Got it? Wait, where's my thing? Oh, I don't have that on here. Oh, well. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, women instinctively want to obey and respect worthy men, men who qualify, men who are worth that trust. Remember, the women like to, they'll call it female intuition or whatever, but it's really the hypergamous filter. The guy who's confirmed as high value. He's worthy of her obedience and her respect. Okay. Number three, women are to men as children are to women for protection. In protection. Got it? Humans strive for a learned socially enforced monogamy despite an innate nature that incentivizes a more efficient promiscuity as a mating strategy. So remember, when people I've answered this question dozens of times. Are men are human beings naturally promiscuous, or are they naturally monogamous, Rolo? Both. And both can be true at the same time. And people who think in binaries want to think that, that promiscuity is a mating strategy, and it's effective, and it's worked, and it's actually been pretty beneficial to humankind because it increases the genetic diversity. Right? If you have monogamy works great too. For what? For parental investment. Both of those strategies have worked for human beings over the course of 200,000 years. Are both natural? Yes. Are both efficient? Yes. Are they as efficient in certain eras as they are in other eras? No. It just depends. So, or are they as efficient mating strategies at a certain point in a human's life as in later in a human's life? No, not necessarily. So remember, promiscuity and monogamy they're still innate, natural, whatever mating strategies. Oh, well, promiscuity is degenerate, Rolo, blah, blah, blah. Well, you just don't have the sport fucking gene, my friend. So it has been and still is. Like, you want to know, like, when we talk about cuckoldry and stuff like that, cuckoldry's been around for forever. Just because you're not sitting in the cuck chair doesn't mean you're not a cuckold. You could be right now and you don't even realize it. The fact that you're sitting there watching it happen is immaterial to the fact that you're going to be the end result is you're going to be raising the offspring of a man who is not you. That's really the ultimate outcome of cuckoldry. So, all right. So we've already gone through that. So because humans have giant heads, instinctive protection from men, instinctive obedience, or I want to be obedient to dominant, worthy, obey and respect dominant, worthy men. Okay, women are to men as children are to women for protection. So, in protection, humans strive for a learned socially enforced monogamy, despite an innate nature that incentivizes a more efficient promiscuity as a mating strategy. Okay, so sexism is hardwired into our species by evolution as an inevitable result of our giant heads. Okay. So when we look at things that are sexist or whatever, come back to the Big Head Babies report or the Big Head Babies essay again. That's sexist. Yes, it is, because nature has a sexist bias. Every religion, social philosophy, or sexual strategy is grounded in working with these two instincts: the female instinct to submit and the male instinct to protect. So when we're looking at, like, say, tradcons and everything, they tend to manipulate men's instinctive need to protect. It's your masculine duty to do this. The whole when we look at, like, what happened with Daniel Penny reacted. He reacted, and we reward him because he did what evolution programmed him to do. He stepped in, took action, defended, and ended up killing a guy, right? But he was doing this based on instinct. Okay, you could say, well, okay, then he processed that instinct through, it's my masculine duty to do this. I think he was a former Marine, wasn't he? Yeah, so he has had the skill, obviously. So, he took the guy, choked him out, did what he had to do, because it was a clear and present danger, and to the women that were right there. Now, in the meantime, you have women being punched in the face on the streets of Manhattan as some sort of game, and we kind of have the time to think about it, and we go, well, hey, they wanted equal rights and they voted for this kind of shit anyways, and if you go and you try to go and defend these chicks, you're going to go to jail just like Daniel Penny did. Daniel Penny was punished for following his innate evolutionary instinct to protect, as I said right here, to protect the incubator of the next generation, because babies have big heads, right? If they're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. Why do you put yourself physically, bodily in front of live ammunition, in front of women you don't know? Because you're instinctively following your protector dynamic. That is part of your evolution, part of your evolutionary development, your hardwiring. Why do we run to women who are crying? Why do we run to children who are crying? But why do we shun men who are crying? Because of exactly this. Why do we kind of like, why does it sound wrong to us when I listen to Daniel Baldoni or Nafti or whoever the fucking guys are? Like, you need to be more vulnerable. It sounds like it fucking goes up your fucking neck, right? Because it goes against that protector dynamic. It's not about learning it. It's not about, oh, you've been taught all of this traditional masculinity and this chauvinist bullshit and this patriarchal, No, it's fucking baked into your goddamn brain. That's why it sounds wrong. That's why it is wrong. Vulnerability is fucking vulnerability. It is weakness. End of fucking story. Can we at least have a concrete definition of what vulnerability is? What is a woman? God, let Matt Walsh decide what that is. Can we at least say vulnerability is fucking weakness? And strength is fucking strength. Like, can we just say that? Like, it seems like self-evident and pretty obvious. And the reason why it grates on us, or we see this sort of mealy mouth, kind of like Oprah Winfrey shit, where it's, oh, we just need to talk about our feelings. You get in a drum circle and, burn fucking sage or whatever the fuck it is, and, get back rubs and cuddle, right? The reason why that sounds gay and weird is because it goes against the protector dynamic that is baked into the psyche of human males. That's why. So it's not your programming. It's not your social conditioning. It's not because your football coach said you're not supposed to cry, Johnny. That's not what it's about. It's about the fact that for millennia, for 200,000 plus years, human males have been the protector, the provider, and the provision, and the parental investor in the next generation, because they had to. We had to incubate the big fucking heads that come out of those widened hips. That's why. It's not social constructionism. It's simple evolution. And anybody saying something different, call them on that bullshit. Please call them on that bullshit. Has nothing to do with social conditioning, has nothing to do with patriarchy, has nothing to do with your football coach teaching it's not okay to cry, Johnny. That's not what it's about. It doesn't feel right for guys to cry. That guy's fucking, that's bitch behavior. Well, it's bitch behavior, not because you were taught that it is. It's because it's instinctive to you. You understand it that way. Because we treat women as if they're children because they're vulnerable. We treat children as their children because they're vulnerable. Children can cry. Women can cry. Men do not. Because men are the ones who have to provide, protect, and parentally invest. That's why. It's not social conditioning. It's not emotionalism. It's not egalitarianism. It's not the blank slate. We're not all the same. Sorry. We are what we are. Just deal with it. Work within that fucking paradigm. It's a much better predictive framework than anything else we have going. Patriarchy is a natural outflow of all of that, of all of this. Patriarchy makes sense in its most ideal form. Makes sense when men evolve to be the protector, the provider, and they have a protector instinct. It makes sense. We don't have to worry about giving birth because we're fucking men. And no, men don't give birth. Sorry. Let me keep going here. So every religion, social philosophy, or sexual strategy is grounded in working with these two instincts. The female instinct to submit and the male instinct to protect. Ergo, traditional conservatism, tradcons, is an attempt to maximize the male protective instinct through indoctrination and social learning for the benefit of women. So when you hear tradcons say men need to man up and take their masculine duties and their responsibilities, and they don't never talk about authority, of course, but they want to say, hey, men need to man up. Men need to be men. Men need to stop being a mangina, right? Men need to be dominant. Men need to be leaders in their families. And ladies, let him lead. Allow him the authority that you assume you have already, ladies. So let him lead, right? You could be a servant leader, right? All this bullshit about leadership and a return to tradition, like that kind of stuff. All that shit is an attempt to maximize the male protective instinct through indoctrination and social learning. Now, you're going to feel as if you should be protecting women. You're going to feel as if you should be providing and being parentally invested. That's why guys who don't fuck, that's why they hate dudes who do fuck, right? That's the guy who uses or has promiscuity, let's just say for lack of a better word, promiscuity as his mating strategy, and this guy is using monogamy as his mating strategy. That's why they conflict, because it's going against that protector dynamic, right? I'm going to fuck a lot of women. Because that's just how it is. I can do it. We're in the post-sexual revolution era right now. Why wouldn't I? I have the advantage. I can do it. Why wouldn't I? It's not psychotic. It's not fucking dark triad. It's just simple pragmatism. If you were Justin Waller and you look like that and you were that, it's like, you would do it too. You would live exactly the same fucking way. Exactly. But it's because it's about pragmatism. It's not about dark triads. It's not about being an evil son of a bitch or a degenerate. It's just simply more pragmatic for him to, well, maybe I don't want to throw Justin under the bus, but if you are that guy and you have the sport fucking gene, then it's more pragmatic for you to do that, right? Well, the guys who can't do that, who use monogamy as their mating strategy, well, that doesn't mix very well with what they have to do by necessity, right? So, but you'll see traditional conservatives will use that protector dynamic as in the form of masculine duty or honor. That's where that comes from. You're an honorable man, a high quality man does what I tell him to do. A real man protects women. A real man takes the responsibility of another man's child. He's not the stepdad. He's the dad who steps up. that you will see that is all over traditional conservatism. In fact, I think that's where it originated. Like, you're not the stepdad, you're the dad who stepped. It's proactive, or excuse me, retroactive cuckoldry. Oh, she's got a baby daddy. Well, you're more of a man than he is, because you're taking your masculine responsibility and you're going to provide and protect and provision for that fucking kid. Right? Or you're going to be parentally invested in the DNA of another man's child, because that's what's masculine, honorable. And you want to protect this vulnerable, single mommy, right? Jesus said, you're supposed to do that. Now get on your knees, servant leader. Okay. Then we have feminism. Feminism is an attempt to minimize the female submissive instinct, also through social indoctrination, to enable women to more ruthlessly exploit the male protective instinct for the benefit of women. Okay. So again, this is have it all. You can have it all. Literally, you can have old order, old style provisioning, protection, and parental investment. And you can expect that. And you can also expect your own independence and your own authority, because everything's 50-50, right? So again, what it's doing is it's exploiting that protector dynamic. But what it's doing in this case is that's minimizing women's submissiveness, or that innate natural need. Like if you read some of these articles of women who are but are maybe even present feminists, and they'll say, I'm really attracted to traditionally conservative guys because they're like real men. Like, I like a guy who can take control. I like a guy who pays for a date. I like a guy who steps up, right? Even if and they'll say, I'm so conflicted because I like this guy and he's like votes for fucking Trump. Like all these chicks who are like saying, I'm going to hold out. I'm not going to fuck anybody because you guys voted for the wrong dude, right? Give it 4 months. Not even that. Give it a month, right? And because those same chicks are still attracted to the guy who's 6 foot tall, 6-pack abs, 6-figure income, bigger than a 6-inch cock, drives more than a 6-cylinder car. Yeah, I mean, you'll see that because it's biological. I don't care what the social programming is, because remember when I talk about like the triune mind theory, right? You have to remember that there is instinct, emotion, and reason. That's one. The other part is the way that I look at sort of like the mechanics of the brain, right, is you have long-term memory, like just like a computer. You have short-term memory. Okay, you've got random access memory. You got that stuff. So you have the hardware, which is the computer itself. You have the firmware, which is what's required to run the hardware itself. And then you've got the software. Well, the software in this case for women is feminism. Okay. The physical side of it is their evolved physique, like how the brain works. And then there's the firmware, which is what we're just talking about here, is this innate desire to want to obey and want to be involved with a physically dominant man who she can trust because she's the vulnerable sex. Somewhere in the back of that lizard brain, in the hind brain, women know that that's what they want, or that's what they instinctively need. And so when the software of feminism conflicts with the firmware of evolution, that's where you have that conflict between those two. So that's when you get women to say, well, I know I'll be betraying the sisterhood and betraying feminism, but I really want to fuck this guy because he's 6 feet tall and he's a conservative and he gets shit done and he's into me. And that's when they start to become less feminist and they become more conservative, because that's what they're really looking for. Okay. Now, so we've said that traditional conservatism, we got into feminism, is an attempt to minimize the female submissive instinct, also through social indoctrination, to enable women to more ruthlessly exploit the male protector instinct for the benefit of women. You'll notice that both of those, traditional conservatism and feminism, both have one end result. What is that? The benefit of women. I've said this a million times, is conservatives do not care about you masculine improvement. Ben Shapiro, go fuck yourself. Matt Walsh, go fuck yourself. You guys do not care about masculine male self-improvement. You do not care about guys getting zeroed out and then coming back from nothing, like working back from zero. You do not fucking care about that. You do not care. Scott Galloway, you don't care about these guys, these young men becoming gambling addicts. You don't care about any of that shit. You only want them to be better men so that they can benefit women. That's why. You're just, people have asked me this forever. Rollo, why do you say traditional conservatism are just as feminists? That's why. Because the end result is the benefit of women. That's why. The end result is always, well, women can't find eligible guys. Guys, you need to step up. We need to up the college enrollment. We need guys to do better. We need guys to step up to the plate. We need guys to we don't want them to compete against them in, these same areas and take jobs away from women, but we still need you to, make a token effort here. They don't want you to succeed for you. That's the difference between the red pill and these fuckwits. So every time somebody says, "Oh, Rollo," and I've just noticed this a lot recently, Rollo, the red pill is just the flip side of the coin for feminism. Fuck you. Fuck you. Okay? Because until feminists are on a DHS watch list, until feminists have diverting hate NGO, like censoring and abridging their right to free speech, until feminists are designated as terrorists and their leaders are radicalizing those terrorists, fuck you. Not even night and day. Until you see red pill guys marching in the street with like red hats instead of those pink pussy hats, to march on fucking, the White House or whatever, fuck you. Until there is 200 plus, or not even that, until there's a Seneca Falls event for red pill guys back in 1848, fuck you. It is not the same. You want it to be the same because you don't understand what the red pill is. And again, the red pill is just praxeology. It's just practical, pragmatic understanding of female nature, male nature, human nature, and the confluence of all of that together. That's what it is. It's not a movement. It's not a philosophy. It's not a religion. It's not a cult. It's none of that shit. It's not a system of belief. It is just information. And the information is what scares the shit out of you. That's why you need stupid, simple answers. That's why you need to dismiss it as the flip side of feminism. It's not. It never has been. It never will be. And I will die on that fucking hill and I will rub your fucking nose in it every single time. And I will win because I've had this conversation a billion fucking times. There is no comparison between the red pill and feminism. Feminism is a movement. Feminism is a supremacy movement. It is a female supremacist movement. The red pill is not. It is just about information. And the information that comes out is very unflattering to female nature. That's why you guys jump to, because men have the protector dynamic. And when you say anything that is unflattering about female nature, out comes that protector dynamic. And that's why guys white knight. They are innately, evolutionarily predisposed to defend milady's honor. So that's why when I say, men are innately more strong. They are better at, spatial acuity, whatever it is. They're better at STEM. They're better at, mathematics. Men are better at this and this and this and this. You know what happens after that? It's not women who do this. It's you have guys that come up and go, yeah, but women are like this and women are like that. You got to take into consideration that women. There has to be a yin to the yang. But if I say women are better at communication, women have better, I didn't know this until recently. Women have a better sense of smell than men do. And it makes sense too, because they have to smell for like pathogens so the baby doesn't die, right? They have a better sense of smell than men. If I say that, oh, yes, Rollo, thank you for looking that up on Wikipedia and where anybody can find it, right? Yes, Rollo, you're right. Nobody says, well, men also have a better sense of hearing. Nobody says that. No, that is not the reflexive response. Nobody gives two flying fucks. I don't know if it's true, but nobody gives two flying fucks. If women have better smelling and then they go, well, but men hear better. Or men have better visual acuity, whatever it is. Men can chuck a spear more accurately or throw a rock more accurately than women. Nobody says that. Nobody cares because you don't defend men. There's no protector instinct for men. Fuck them. They can go die. They're the disposable sacrificial sex. It's in everything. It's in every story. It's in every religion. It's in every philosophy. Men are supposed to sacrifice. Fuck that. And then even the Christ story is sacrifice. You have a man who dies on a cross for what? Altruism, basically, for the entire human race. A man sacrifices, dies. Men die for the betterment of the human race, for the betterment of women, whatever it is, men are supposed to sacrifice. There is no protector dynamic for men. There's only protector dynamic for women. And that's why you get Daniel Penny. And you know what we do? We punish him. We punish that guy. We make a martyr of that guy. And trust me, I put this up on Twitter not too long ago. Martyrdom, being a martyr, has never gotten a woman wet. Never. You know what gets them wet? The guy who killed that motherfucker. That's who gets them wet. The guy who's the Joker, the villain, the guy who beat the fuck out of that guy. That's who, like, remember I told you about the club and the guy got between him and the other dude shot the other dude? She goes home with the guy. That's who that's who got her wet. Not the guy who took a bullet for her. That's the dude. And it's going to be that way forever. You want to know why women love violent porn? You want to know why they like dark triad characters? Why they like 50 Shades of Grey?
Rape fantasies.
Yeah, well, it's that too, but it's also that those guys are winners. Those guys have come out on top. And it sounds evil and oh, that's wrong, Rollo. That's bad. That's immoral. Yeah. Yes, it is. According to us, according to guys, it seems it's justice, right? It's based on the concept of debt, really, but it seems like an injustice. Oh my God, I can't, like, you duplicitous woman, you immoral woman. You went off with the criminal and you hybristophilia, or why did you go off with the criminal? I was just talking about this. Women are hybristophiles. Not all women are hybristophiles, but only women are hybristophiles. They're the ones who marry the criminals. They're the ones with the conjugal visits. They're the one who create the fan club for Richard Ramirez and, what's that kid? Oh, Nicholas Cruz, Anders Breivik, who is Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy. Man, remember when they got Zac Efron? Mm-hmm. Was it to play Ted Bundy or was it Jeffrey Dahmer?
I think it was Jeffrey Dahmer.
It was Jeffrey, one of those guys, right? Zac Efron is who you chose. Really? Now, they said he was a good-looking dude, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen pictures of both, well, Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted, but if you saw them in Walmart, you'd probably go over to the next aisle. You would not want to be around these dudes. But like in hindsight, once they went to jail and it was confirmed that they'd actually killed motherfuckers, then suddenly they become more attractive, right? To the point where Zac Efron plays. Really? Who made that casting choice? Probably some chick, right? Yeah, so we're looking at the protector dynamic. Now, we've discussed traditional conservatism. We've discussed feminism. Here we go. Now we're going to talk about the red pill, all right? So feminism is an attempt to minimize the female submissive instinct through social indoctrination to enable women to be more ruthlessly exploit male protective instinct for the benefit of women. Now here, the red pill. The red pill is an attempt to teach men to selectively suppress the male protective instinct to avoid its exploitation by women who are conditioned not to be submissive for the benefit of men. You understand what I'm saying? So the red pill is about educating. It's about educating men so that they will not be exploited. What I'm doing right now is I'm teaching slaves to read. I'm teaching you how this protector dynamic works. And if you know, knowing is half the battle, right? What's the other half? Violence. But I'm teaching you guys like what the evolutionary underpinnings of why you feel like you need to step in front of live ammunition when a mass shooting goes around. You want to step in front of take a bullet for a woman, and you don't even know why you did it. Maybe afterwards, you go, what the fuck was I thinking? And then people will praise you. I mean, hopefully you survive, right? They'll praise you for taking the bullet for a woman that you sacrificed. You were a martyr. You sacrificed yourself. You're not getting laid. You're not getting any pussy for that. Like, have you seen these stories where the guy like donates a kidney to this girlfriend? His girlfriend like leaves and goes off with his best friend. And the guy's thinking, well, if I give her a kidney, she'll be with me forever. She'll owe me. She'll have to fuck me then, right? No, she'll take your fucking kidney and they're your best friend. That's what it comes down to. Because that's efficient. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. You guys can make that judgment call for yourself. I'm just telling you what it is. And that's all the red pill does. It doesn't deal with should. It doesn't deal with immoral. It doesn't deal with judgmental, moral, immoral. It doesn't deal with judgment. It leaves that to the individual to sort of make that call for themselves. It just tells you what is. That's why it will never be feminism. That's why it will never be tradcon. And that's why it rubs both of those ideologies the wrong way. And it also will rub MGTOW the wrong way because those are practices. MGTOW, black pill, tradcons, feminism, whatever, ism. If it has ism at the end of it, it's probably a practice. It's best practices. Here, we have all this knowledge, we have all this education, we have all this theory. How are we going to use this? How are we going to make this useful to us? Well, MGTOWs go, fuck it, I'm out. Never trust a woman, I'm gone. What, MGTOW, you might have a case. If you want to say MGTOW is the flip side to feminism, you might be right. Red pill's not. And the only reason you guys keep repeating that bullshit over and over and over again is because you're just fucking ignorant. And I didn't say you're stupid. I didn't say you're dumb. I said you're just ignorant of what the red pill really is. Okay, so that said, even in the old order, tradcons and feminists worked tirelessly towards the common goal of female rebellion and emancipation from this evolved order. In the new order, men must be freed from the unconscious knee-jerk expression of their protective instincts before they can deal with women in a way that maximizes their benefit rather than that of a stranger. Okay? A world dominated by feminism and feminist incentivized traditional conservatism is a world where men prioritize the interests of women and women prioritize the interests of themselves as well. It is a world half full of adults who must protect children they have no authority over and half full of unsupervised children. Okay, so I'm going to leave you guys at that. That's good enough for there. All right, so that is the big head babies. Now, how does this apply to our good friend Daniel Penny? Well, Penny, whether he knew this or not, was probably making that same, as I said, that same knee-jerk reaction because it's impulse, it's instinct. It's not that he did anything wrong or right. It's just in this instant, describing the behavior. There's no wrong, there's no right. He just did what he did. He did like the same way as the guy in the club who stepped between the boyfriend and the girlfriend and got shot for it. Now, he paid the price. This other guy was punished for it. And so what happens is we have this social programming and this social narrative, I guess, that says, watch yourself, guys, because if you feel like you should step in and protect women, you're going to be punished for it. But you're going to be punished for a base evolved instinct that has developed and evolved over the course of 200,000 years, right? Because your instinct, your gut says, protect the woman, protect the incubator of the next generation, protect the child. Because men in that instinct, in that moment, see that woman as a child, a defenseless child. Nobody's going to beat up on a kid. If I saw a kid getting beat up by an adult, I'd go, fuck that adult up, right? You'd say, hey, what the fuck is this all? At the very least, you'd step in, right? Well, it's the same thing. Now, a lot of people think, well, you white knight because you want to get pussy out of it. And that might be the case. But the instinctual, like the hindbrain, the lizard brain impulse to go and defend the lady, defend the woman, stems from the fact that she is the vulnerable sex and you are the disposable sex. And that is just simply set into your heart or your evolutionary firmware from way, way long before you even thought about it. So let me see if I can get to some of these super chats right quick. My favorite part of 1883, oh yeah, is that what it is? It's 1883, yeah, is half, this is Taylor Sheridan, getting back to Taylor Sheridan, is half the season they were worried about how to cross that river. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. And remember the river was poisonous? Yeah. Yeah. That show shows easy society, how easy society is today. When was the last time you worried about crossing a river? I'd be worried it has leeches in it, but other than that, I probably wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But it's funny. What we consider sort of like these mundane things, they were really concerned about. You know what got me? This is a great example. This was like 1923, right? Mm-hmm. So in Harrison Ford and what's her name is Helen Mirren are in that one. Really good series too. There is one of the sons is killed, but he was engaged or just got married to one of these girls, and the girl is now sort of part of the family. Right. And they were talking about shaving their underarm pits.
Oh yeah.
Because in America in the 1920s, in the early 20s, like up to that point at the very least, the women had underarm hair. Like that was common. And they even had in the show, they had to grow their pits out, right? Because that was the way it was done. Until about the early 20s. In the roaring 20s, then like French style came into vogue. Flappers. And the flappers in France shaved their pits, right? And that was it was like shaving your coot, man. It was scandalous back then. Oh my gosh, this is the style. It came over from France. Like we can trust those French. Everything's French and gay, right? They just couldn't. And I was like, why is that a big deal? But it was back then. That was it was getting a tramp stamp. Or getting the chandeliers under the boobs.
It's like Wolf of Wall Street when he's talking to his dad.
Yeah.
And he's saying, he's like, oh, they all shave down there now.
That's funny. You know what's funny is that I didn't really think about that because obviously I wasn't, despite popular opinion, I did not actually live in the 20s. Thank you. Okay. No, like just like the fact that you would shave your pits, right? Yeah. Everybody, unless you're like at Woodstock or something like that in the 60s, maybe you didn't. But everybody left their pits to grow until right about the mid 20s for the flappers and all that other stuff. And that was escalation. So if you're a chick, you had to, it was like getting a belly ring. Like everybody's got a belly ring. So I got to get a navel piercing right now. Right? And I'll tell you what's funny about that is I can remember, you want a history lesson, a Rollo Tomassi history lesson. I can remember when like shaving your cooter, that was like niche porn. Like you had like if you had to go hunt down a VHS tape of chicks with like shave snatches, right? And it would say shave snatch. Like give me the voice. Give me the voice. Shave snatch. But that was a niche. Like you had to go hunting for that stuff. And then now it's like everybody does it, right? It's normal, right? And then I remember it was like about the mid 90s and women strippers started getting navel piercings. They started getting the belly rings and stuff. And I used to think, God, that's so fucking hot. You know? Oh, that's hot. But you know why? Because only strippers had normal chicks did not have their bellies pierced. And then they realized, again, it's sexual escalation, right? And so now you got a shave snatch. Now you got a belly piercing, right? What's next? Tramp stamp or whale tail, like when the chicks would like wear this used to be a scandal. This used to be a big deal. Like when girls would wear like kind of low riser jeans and they would have like a G string on underneath, and it was like a thong, and it was like do like this, and they called it a whale tail. Right? So you get a whale tail, and then you had a tramp stamp, which was like right across the back, right? And people used to go, well, imagine when she's old and she's a grandma and she has to explain that to her grandchildren. Grandchildren they're gonna have like full sleeves and full body tattoos. Who cares?
Her sure ain't going.
But I remember when that was like a big deal, like when tramp stamps were a big deal.
Yeah.
And now I see like these girls who like get the tattoo. I mean, tats everywhere, but like they get the tat. I can only call them like boob chandeliers.
Yeah.
Because they have like they look like they're chandeliers coming off their tits. And then so that was the thing. And then piercings, right? So it's like then tongue piercings became a thing, and then like getting a septum piercing and everything else. And that was like, okay, you kind of overdid it. Can we just stick with the navel? And then the chicks who like they'll split the tongue, like it looks like a snake tongue and everything.
Or gauges when they were big in like the 2010s.
What was it? Was it Chris Rock who says if you see a chick with a tongue piercing, a tongue stud in her thing, she will probably suck your dick. If you see a guy with a tongue piercing, he will probably suck your dick. Because that's basically all it's for, right? Because it's not for fuck around. Hey man, what's going on? But it's interesting to see like the sexual escalation, and it all started in 1923 when chicks started shaving their pits. Yeah. What do you got? Thank you for your work and content, K6. Always try to find time to watch your streams during quiet days while I work in peace. Am I peaceful? You always provide great information for me to engage with. Guitar riff. Okay, there you go. Is that what you want? I should have a guitar riff drop. Thoughts on it's also men's fault that women are promiscuous, of course. A woman doesn't become a slut without plenty of men enabling it to be responsible. Okay, well, it's like chicken or the egg. Okay. I think I mentioned this before the episode before last, which was Aaron Clary's. At what point do we cease to become our sister's keeper? If it's all men's fault, and again, remember, men are supposed to man up and be better for the benefit of women, right? Whether it's feminism or it's traditional conservatism, the end result is prioritize the gynocentrism. It's prioritizing the female experience as the predominant and the correct experience for everyone. So men should be on board with women's life plan, and women should be on board with women's life plan. That's what it really comes down to. You need to sacrifice. If a woman decides she wants to fuck this guy, have his baby, and you come on and you're also supposed to provide for her, and if you don't, then you're a misogynist fuck. And you know what? Here's the pastor of my church who will come and tell you you're a misogynist fuck too, because Jesus wants you to take care of that.
God wants you to have the baby.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Thank you, Rob. Fresh was right. Go against the grain. Follow Fresh. But the idea is that this technique right here, it's basically a social tactic, is what it is. It's convincing men that they're still they're not only are men responsible for their own fuck ups, they're also responsible for women's fuck ups. It's the same dynamic when you say, like, okay, if you cheat on your wife, it's your fault. And if she cheats on you, it's also your fault because you weren't man enough to, like, keep her satisfied or meet her needs or whatever the fuck it is. Meet her needs is exactly what I'm talking about when I say prioritizing the female experience above the male experience. We didn't used to do that, by the way. Prior to the sexual revolution, when we had like a sort of a nominal patriarchy, in an ideal perspective, in an ideal way, patriarchy is a much more balanced system than gynocentrism or feminism. Because in a patriarchy, a man had authority, but he also had responsibility. In a patriarchy, a man has to be responsible for his kids and has to be responsible for his wife. In fact, right up until the post-war era, men, well, even after that, men had to be responsible. If their children were criminals, the man was responsible for them being criminals. If the woman bankrupted the company, if the woman was a criminal, if the woman did certain things that were against the legal system or whatever, the man was responsible for the woman. Why are you not? Why keep this bitch in pocket? How come? Like it was presumed. It was just assumed that the guy was going to take that control. It was a basis of the coverture laws back in the day, meaning like what feminists will always say this: women couldn't own property, they couldn't own anything, they couldn't go to school. No, they could, they absolutely could. But once they got married, they lost the right to those things. So if a woman could inherit a business from her father, she could inherit money from her family, she could inherit land as well and keep it as long as she didn't get married. Because once she got married, all of that was presumed to be under the purview of her husband, because that man is now responsible for that woman and her land and the money and everything else. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take all this stuff from this horrible little spinster here. That wasn't the way it would work. It was just the fact that that man was legally responsible for that chick. And by the way, women have been able to vote for quite some time. The thing that's funny is like when we talk about like, oh, we didn't ratify the right to vote for women until 1920, which is true in the United States. But what they don't tell you is that men couldn't vote until, like right up until like the Civil War, right? And for the vast majority of most of human society, neither men nor women could vote at all. So when we talk about the coverture laws, though, I love talking about this. I actually brought this up in my book, Religion. It was more advantageous for a woman to stay single because she could keep her land, she could keep her money, she could keep the dad's business, you could own the business anyways. She could keep all that and be responsible for it, right? But she was responsible for it. So if the business went tits up, she was responsible for it because there's no husband there. If she marries, then the husband becomes responsible for that. And like one of the things we always say is like when we see young men, 14, 18, somewhere around there, and they're addicted to drugs or they are suicidal or they're a criminal or whatever else, and they're raised by a single mother. What we don't say, where's the single mother? We say, where's the father? You know why? Because under the old school, on the old set of rules, the man was responsible for all of that. And that was part of patriarchy. patriarchy implied that men were responsible for their wives and their children, but they also had a commensurate authority to enforce that fucking responsibility in the first place. Now, under the new 21st century rules, men have no authority, but they have a hyper inflated requirement of responsibility. So men have to be 50-50. They have to be equals, even though they are clearly superior to the woman in so many in various different ways, right? Well, we say, a woman can't look up to a man if that's her equal, right? But he still has to consider himself an equal. That's part of taking authority away from men. The fact that this mentality that, I have all this power and I have all of this options and I have all this stuff, but I'm really your equal. Well, we're going to pretend it's like it's the same pathology as pretending like somebody can change their gender on the fly. We're all going to play along with this narrative, even though I'm clearly 6 feet tall, more muscular, I make more money, I'm a high value guy, but I'm your equal. That's like saying men can give birth. I mean, really, it is. I mean, it's the same. It comes from the same stem, and so when you look at the coverture laws, and women had more rights and had more freedom outside of marriage than inside marriage, we've flipped that now. Men have more freedom and more opportunity and more ability to maneuver and have more options outside of marriage than they do inside of marriage, because the responsibility is all responsibility and no authority anymore. So when I listen to these guys talking about like assortative mating or whatever else, and they want to base this assortative here, it must be true because look, likes get with likes. Women who are like this get with men who are like this too. Like, well, yeah, that might have been true under the old way of thinking, but the thing is that if we have this mentality of like sort of this co-equal, blank slate bullshit, does that even make any difference anymore? Probably not, because we're trying to be more alike because we feel like we have to. So if the optimal way of thinking or the predominant experience on planet Earth is to be a female, men will take that to the nth degree. They'll become female. They will pretend they are, like the bearded lady on Dr. Phil with Matt Walsh. But it's also so yeah. So how do you buffer that? You buffer it by making everything men's responsibility. That's really kind of what you're getting after right here. I've heard this in various ways, but it's usually women would be better if men were better. Okay, well, what does that do? That says that women have no agency. They have no moral agency for sure, because anything that is the consequences of their actions are the responsibility of men, or they are the root cause is of men. So if men weren't jerking off to OnlyFans, then women would be better. No, it would be something else. There will always be something else. Like, so when guys say, they're addicted to porn, they're addicted to video games, they're addicted to this. Okay, take all of those things away, there'll still be something else that guys will use as a sedation, or women will use as a use to avoid accountability. So when we look at I think ostensibly, when we look at shows like Whatever Podcast, or we look at like Fresh and Fit or Access Vegas, even to a certain degree, where you look at some of these quote unquote, those red pill influencers, those predominant voices in the manosphere, right? When we look at those things and we say, well, they're trying to hold women accountable. Well, you can diffuse all of that if you say it's men's responsibility and it's men's fault that they're that way anyway. So how can you hold them accountable? Hold men accountable instead of women. Okay, well, what that presumes is there's no agency, there's no moral agency, there's no real sort of accountability involved in this at all, because anything a woman does is not her fault. She's completely sinless. She goes to heaven and you go to hell because you weren't man enough to go to heaven. You weren't man enough to keep Eve from pulling the apple off the fucking tree and feeding it to you. That's what that states. It's all about this moral agency. So women are just this automatons, right? They're robots. They have no responsibility. They have no accountability. It's only about men. Because when you take that to its most illogical, absurd, logical end, that's what it boils down to. You're saying, so by saying, and I love it when women say this, like, oh, well, it's because of men. It's men's fault that women are so fucked up. Okay, so what you're saying is you're like a child, Like we're just saying, you're a child and you can't be held responsible for your own actions because you are sinless, because you don't know any better and men do. Is that what I'm getting from you? Because at least we can start from a better ground point, a better basis. I can talk to you if you are if that's the accepting, the predominant theory that you're throwing at me, right? Then I can at least treat you like a child. Because you can't take accountability. That's what children do. They don't take account. It's up to we blame the bad behavior of a child on the parent, right? So if it's men's responsibility, or their accountability, their liability. It's men's liability for women's actions. Then men should be able to treat women like children. But you don't want. Oh my God! How dare you? How dare you? How dare you say I don't have agency? How dare you? It's free will. You have, ladies, you have no free will. You have, if I imagine me saying that on like whatever podcast, ladies, none of you have free will because it's my responsibility or it's my failing that you're all fucking around on OnlyFans making $43 million and then calling yourself a born again Christian. Did you see that? Oh my God. I'm a born again Christian. I didn't want to do this. I just made $43 million and then I'm out. It's like Bitcoin. Okay, that's at 100,000. I'm out. Okay, I made enough money and now I can go and play the prodigal daughter. Well, and then I can blame it on men. No, at some point. By the way, I'm being facetious. I'm trying to be funny. I don't believe that for a second. I think human beings, like especially if you're TradCon and you're the one of the fundamental basis of your ideology is personal responsibility, then it's not men's fault that OnlyFans girl is fucking around making money. It's her fault too. Can we share the fault? At the very least, can we share the fault? Because if you're going to say it's all men's fault, women would be better if men would be better. Okay, but women would have to be better too. And like I said, at what point do we cease to be our sister's keeper and they have to take responsibility for their own fucking actions? I've said this many times. People want to say, Rollo, do you think we should repeal the 19th? I'm like, well, first of all, that's untenable. And no, I don't. I don't think we should repeal the 19th. I think women should absolutely have the right to vote. I think they should vote intelligently. And not that I have much faith in that, but I think they should have the right to vote. Absolutely. But I also think that they should be held accountable for the choices and the votes that they cast. So if you say, well, the only reason Kamala got into office or whatever is because if men would have stepped up and took care of this thing, then, we wouldn't be in such a shitty place. You ever see that meme that says, tough times create hard men, or good men create good times create weak men create hard times, right? Mm-hmm. You notice it's always men. It's always men in there. Like there's no accountability for women whatsoever. There's just say men and women. It's only men. So if we're going to say that, we're going to say it's only men, then ladies, fucking kneel down to the patriarchy right now and kiss the fucking ring, because you are. Don't complain when like I was saying before, big head babies, when men like consider you a child. So if I'm responsible for your sins and I'm held accountable for the results of for the consequences of your actions, then I have default authority. And you are and if men have any failing whatsoever, it's not assuming that authority. What do you want? Do you want to be sinless? Hell, I'd love to. Fuck yeah. How awesome would it be if I go, you know what? The reason why men are so fucked up is because of women. If I said that, oh my God, imagine me saying something like that. That's what most people who don't have any idea what the red pill is about, that's what they think. They think men just hate those women. They think that those women owe them sex. They think that their conditions and their shitty lives are a result of women's actions. Okay? But yet they want to say that women would be better if men were better. It's a fucking flip of the same fucking thing. It's a script just flipped. Who's going to take responsibility for their own actions? I think men should take responsibility for their actions and women should take responsibility for their actions. Women should vote, men should vote. All that is fucking agency. All that is authority. I think people should be empowered, but they should be empowered. And then if they fuck up, If they make bad choices, they are held accountable for those choices. People hate it when I say, abortion and, I'm just use abortion. Abortion is just a fail-safe for women's bad reproductive choices. Abortion would not exist if women didn't make bad reproductive choices. Now, what's going to happen? People can say, but Rollo, what about the guys? It takes a dick to make her pregnant in the first place. Yeah, it does to make her pregnant, but an abortion happens after. Abortion is post facto. Only a woman can get an abortion, not a man. So that's on you. That is your responsibility, your accountability for that abortion, because it's a fail-safe. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not making a moral judgment on whether or not you got an abortion or you didn't. Okay. I'm just saying that's the mechanics of it. Everybody wants to turn it into an emotional thing, right? Oh, well, don't you think it's right? Don't you think it's wrong? I'm the red pill, man. That's not my purview, not my circus, not my monkeys, not my wheelhouse. I just tell you the fucking mechanics. I'll let you make the judgment call. If you want to ask me what I think, like personally, I'll tell you off camera. But here, in the form of the red pill, that's what it's about. So, rant over. Sorry. Damn it, Rollo. Damn it. God, no. You know what? Hold on. Where did I go?
You're goddamn right.
There. Close enough. Is it downstream effect of women suicidal empathy? Is it downstream effect of women's suicidal empathy? I don't know what you're getting at. Do you remember what he was saying? Is it downstream effect of women's suicidal empathy? You mean the protector dynamic? I don't know. I don't know what you're getting at. Please give me another super chat and make it $100, and then I'll tell you. Something tradcons don't understand is that it's often women who only want sex nowadays outside of a monogamous relationship. They want a man. Yes, thank you for that. That when we talk about needing a man and wanting a man, the need part is the beta buck side. The want a man, that's the alpha fuck side. And as I said before, like when you have essentially re-engineered Western societies to make men superfluous, what else do you expect? I love seeing these videos on they're either reels on Instagram or sometimes I see them on TikTok when these women, like that chick who slides in all the time, whatever the fuck it is, that's the only thing she does. Like she just lets the other video run. She just does one of these things. That's all she has to do. She's going to be bigger than Pearl. I guarantee you. The slide girl, whatever. Hey, this doesn't work because guys are fucked, right? The idea of wanting or needing a man, the need part right now, I think I've mentioned this before. There's no more frontiers for guys to explore. There's no more. And if they do, we're made to feel bad about wanting to explore. You're a conqueror. You're a colonizer or whatever it is. Men are made to feel bad for our innate desire to want to explore. Okay. But when we talk about like want versus need, like when I was talking about men being superfluous on Dr. Phil, that's all about the need part. Women don't need men, and to the point where it's dangerous. So like I was saying before, like they would rather choose the bear over the guy in the woods, right? Or the protection. I've heard Destiny say this before. I've heard some pretty well-meaning traditional conservatives say this before. We don't need men because we have guns now. We don't need men because, or probably on whatever podcast right after my show, you'll hear some woman say, well, I can go to the parking lot myself because I got a Glock in my purse, right? And while that is true, it's like, can you use it? Can you, and if she, let's just say for sake of, I don't wish this on anybody, but let's just say for sake of argument, she got raped on the way from whatever podcast to her car. Whose fault would it be? Where would the guy be? Who would be the one who would be held accountable for something like that? I'm going to see if I can throw this up here. I've got a video that I forgot to put on there. Oh, here it is. Women need to be protected. This is a good one. I meant to put this in the introduction stack, but I'm glad I didn't because now we can talk about this here.
If women need to be protected, provided for, and empowered, have you ever stopped to question, who do they need to be protected from? Why don't they have access to their own resources? And who took their power in the first place?
So this is the common feminist, liberal, lefty wokesy progressivist narrative. Well, it was men who took it. This is, by the way, this is not too dissimilar from the idea that if men were better men, then women would be better women. Right? Who took it away from them? Who took their authority away from them? Because as if there was like some sort of natural state of equilibrium between men and women, right? And she looks exactly like you would expect someone like this to look. Okay. But the main question is this: to protect them from who? A chaotic, dangerous world where you are the incubators of the next generation because you are the vulnerable sex. To protect them from who? Saber-toothed tigers, pathogens, black widow spiders, snakes, bears. What she wants you to say is other men. That's what's implied in this. Protect them from who? That's what she is expecting you to mouth those words, right? And the fact of the matter is if you look at this, if you look at the argument, the idea of protection, we don't need your protection until we do. You don't need men's protection until you're walking the streets of Manhattan and some other man comes and busts you in the fucking face. Then you want that guy, then you want that other dude who's like 6 feet tall to step in and take control. And this is the same mentality and the same mindset, same chick, same demographic, who will put Daniel Penny in fucking jail, who will say he needs to be punished for defending us, for protecting us. Okay, fine. He lets you go. And then what happens? Now, instead of one guy being dead, we have 4 women that are dead on the subway. Oh, well, then how do we do it? Well, if men were better men, then women would be protected. Then women would be better women. If men were just, it's this circular logic. You can't fucking win. If you cheat on your wife, it's your fault. If she cheats on you, it's your fault. No matter what happens, it's your fucking fault. You didn't live up to the expectations if you did, and you didn't if you do. See? But the idea is that, or the unspoken part of all that is that it's men who need to be protected from women need to be protected from other men. And so what's the solution to that? The solution is to, of course, teach men not to be violent fucks, right? It's to get men to prioritize the female experience, to be more sensitive, to get in touch with their feelings, to be more vulnerable, to be more like a woman. And that's really what the woke mindset and really the leftist mindset boils down to, is men could be more perfected if they became more like women, if they thought more like women, if they behaved like women, if they had the same like sensibilities, if they listened. No, ladies, they would be women. And you don't want those guys. As I said, you cannot look up to a man who is your equal. You don't want him to be your equal. You want him to be your superior. You want to submit to the life plan and to the authority and to this protection, the provisioning, the long-term security, and the parental investment of a guy who is more than you. And that's not a failing on your part or a failing on his part. It's just the way it fucking is. That's how the world works. And you could say it's social constructionism, and you could say it's chauvinism, and you could say it's misogyny. Where do I go? Do I have it? Do I have misogyny? I do.
Misogyny.
There you go. Thanks, Chris Pogson. You can say whatever the fuck you want it is. But the fact of the matter is men and women are different, and we have different programming. We have different software. We have different firmware. And sometimes guys are going to default to their factory settings. And in this case, Daniel Penny decided he was going to go and fucking kick some ass. Now, there's people who are going to praise him. I'm sure there's lots of people who are praising him for his actions. And they're going to say that those actions were moral. They're going to say that they were honorable, that they were what a real man does. And they'd be, as far as I'm like, personally, they'd be right. Right? But then there's the people who are going to say, well, why would he need to protect them in the first place if we didn't have a society that created monsters like that in the first place? And it's men's fault that guy exists in the first place. That's what it'll come down to. As I said, it's circular logic. It's stupid, bonehead, ignorant, circular logic. But that's what they want you to say. They want you to say that it's men's responsibility. And the reason I brought that up is because it's the same argument as if men were better men, then women wouldn't start OnlyFans. Women wouldn't be in danger. Women, it's men's fault that the world's not fucking perfect. What do you got? Cryptic Coil. There's my new band name. Hey, sounds like Lacuna Coil. Hey, Rolo, I promise this isn't a gotcha. Here we go. Genuinely asking for your thoughts. If women are hybristophiles, but men aren't, then what do you say about Jodi Arias getting married behind bars like Bundy? Okay. Man bites dog is not news, or dog bites man is not news. Man bites dog is news. The exception proves the rule. Is far more. First of all, I don't know what the specifics are with Jodi Arias or whatever her whole thing is. I'm sure that there are individual cases where there's a guy that gets with a convicted criminal. I'm not saying that probably doesn't exist, but I'm saying it's far more common for women. Now, here's what would you like to know why I say that? Because in the state of California and in a few other states right now, in correctional facility, prisons, state penitentiaries, they have to separate the female guards from the male population. Why? They don't have to separate the male guards from them. Why is that? Because the female guards tend to fall in love with the inmates. That's why. And they try to bust them out. In fact, it's such a problem that they have to separate the male population from the female guards. And they're trying to find ways to put female prison guards, prison workers in with the female population rather than the male population. Because women are not all women are hybristophiles, but only women are hybristophiles. Okay. So I'm not saying that there isn't an individual case where a man might actually, here, you know what? I'm going to throw this up there because this guy really wanted the attention today. Where did it go? This dude really, really, really wanted attention. So I'm going to give it to him here. Oops, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, here we go. Got to show you this one because this guy went to great pains to go and dig this up. So here we go, children. This is where to go? Share the screen. There it is. This one. This dude. Okay. Board observer. B7_B73589. Okay. The real hypocrisy here is Rolo Simp and White Knight. Look at, you can tell this is a bot. Rolo Simp and White Knight, a female criminal, while calling others white knights for a petty reason. Okay, so Mac and Murphy decided that he popped off with this. The replies are, because he was talking about this chick. Yeah, here it is. This girl, a Colombian hit woman known as the Doll. Hit woman. This is not a serial murderer. This is a hired assassin. Okay, so that's number one. Let's call a spade here. All right. They're fawning all over her, yet none will conclude that men love serial killers as they do about women, or whenever a handsome male murderer goes viral. Maybe it's not a crime, maybe it's not the crime that's attractive, but being attractive is attractive. Yeah, except for the fact that you also have, here's what I pop back with. I'll just throw this at you. So I pop back with this. I said, yeah, and Anders Breivik, Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, Nicholas Cruz, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, he's the Boston Marathon bomber, Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, all these guys. I said, stop being such a white knight, Mac, and look at what's right in front of your nose, right? So I'm throwing that out there. Then this guy has to go dig this up, right? There's this one chick right here. It says 9 different mugshots. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, the girl's hot. Don't get me wrong. I said, I'm joking. I have a sense of humor, you fucking idiot. I said, the kind of girl I'd ruin my life for. Really? So here's your fucking attention. There's that. You wanted it. You got it. Everybody on the show, just give them a hand. Yeah. Well done. Fucking idiot. I'm like, yeah, because I was being 100% serious in that second. Like, fucking spurts. That's what they are. That's what these guys are. Really. Everything's literal, right? You can't, like, I'm going to write a book of maxims. You know what the first maxim is going to be for the internet? It's going to be this: is never use allegory, metaphor, sarcasm, humor. I don't know, anything that's rhetoric, anything that is not exactly fucking literal true. It comes out of your mouth like a fucking speech to text, right? or text to speech. If it's not 100% literally true, never use any kind of language arts. Never use any word craft on the internet, because someone will take you literally. If it can be taken literally, it will be taken literally. Don't be an idiot. You sir, win the idiot prize for today's show. Yes. So I want to throw a couple of other things out here. Where did I get that? Ah, shit. Hang on one sec. There we go. Oops. Wait a minute. Are you still? You're still shooting, right? Okay. There we go. Oops. I gotta reload. Hang on. Cancel. There we go. Am I back? Hold on. I gotta jump back in so I can share this with you. You're still going, right? Yeah, you are. Okay. Good enough. I don't know why I had to reload. All right. Much better. Oh, okay. So I want to show you this. I dragged some of these things out here just to sort of give you so Rollo knows what the fuck he's talking about. This was a good one. Being dispensable. Okay. So this is, I have the actual, the link to this here, but it says that being dispensable results in a higher risk taking. That's why men have a higher risk tolerance. You want to know why? Because we're the disposable sex. We are the sacrificial sex. We are the protectorates, right? Less help seeking. Why? You've probably seen that video where I say, why don't men be more emotional? Why don't they express their feelings? Why don't they try to go get help? They do. Nobody cares. Nobody cares when men cry. Nobody cares when they have a hard time, because men are supposed to do. Women just are. Okay. And they also have higher suicide rates. So they're going to go and say that this is, the men offing themselves as a result. This is crucial science. New psychology research shows people are more willing to harm men than women for the greater good. All right, so that's number one. Here we go. This is another one. Are men more interested in sexually violent content than women? No. According to my data, absolutely not. Inconsistent non-consent brutality, bondage, sadomasochism, power dynamics, and humiliation. Across the board, women report more interest in these things than men. That was that one. In modern society, most violent gang members often have the highest status compared to non-involved peers. Young male gang members between 14 and 18 years old were 5.7 times more likely to have had sex and 3.2 times more likely to have gotten a girl pregnant. Violent gang members. Psychopathy was associated with a higher number of children in men, but not in women. And I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to do it anyways. This is bonobo. This is from a book that science.org was reviewing. And this is Rob Henderson again. Overall, male bonobos turned out to be about 3 times as likely as chimps to engage in aggressive behavior. Remember how everybody, for the longest time, everybody wanted to say that bonobos were like these peace-loving, hippies of the primate world? No, actually, they're not. They're about 3 times as likely as chimps to engage in aggressive behavior. Their aggression didn't appear to be a turnoff for female bonobos, who actually preferred to mate with the aggressive males. You connect the dots. Women who are kidnapped often develop loyalties to the groups that captured them. Again, this is the Stockholm syndrome that I've talked about in the past. This is a sort of backup for the war brides dynamic. Okay. For example, early American settlers were often shocked to discover women of European origin living in Native American tribes who were not interested in being rescued. And porn featuring, here you go, our favorite topic. Porn featuring violence against women is also extremely popular amongst women. It's far more popular among women than men. I hate saying that because misogynists seem to love this fact. Fantasy life isn't always politically correct. Well, fantasy life has to have a root in some sort of reality. So when we talk about protection, we talk about being vulnerable, when we talk about looking for, women naturally, innately wanting to defer to the authority and the obedience to worthy, in this case, maybe it's an aggressive bonobo, to worthy men. So when I'm looking at stuff like this, and I had to go kind of filter through a lot of my folders to find some stuff that would at least in some way corroborate what I've been talking about all this time. The idea that women are more interested in violent porn than men are is just like, to me, like I kind of get it, but it's always like when we're talking like that one girl that one gal, the gray-haired lady who was talking about like, who protect them from what? Well, protect them from the men you're attracted to in the violent porn. It's just, it's, I think at some point, like we have to, when I was talking about how there's this innate want or drive to treat women or to, like maybe tacitly consider women as being children. This is where, again, there's an evolutionary reason that men sort of see that almost innately, and women almost respond to that innately, right? They want daddy. They want a guy who's going to step up and take charge. They want a guy who's going to provide long-term security in a very chaotic, death-hungry world. Whether or not that exists or not, whether we have Glocks in our purses, whether or not we have hot and cold running water, or we have aspirin, or we have birth control, or we have washing machines and dryers and everything else, all these modern conveniences doesn't change 200,000 years of evolutionary, proclivities. As I said before, in Jurassic Park, that part where they're trying to feed the Tyrannosaurus, right? And then they have a goat to feed the T-Rex, right? Which is probably like an M&M for a T-Rex if you think about it, right? And they say you can't feed T-Rex. T-Rex wants to hunt. You can't repress 65 million years of gut instinct. That's where we're at. I'm going to quote Michael Sartain. We are hairless murder apes. I'm making a T-shirt. Access Vegas, and we have like hairless murder apes on the T-shirt. I bet we'd sell millions of them. But we women want what they want. T-Rex wants a women is a T-Rex. T-Rex wants to hunt. It doesn't care if it has a goat. It doesn't care if it has hot and cold running water or modern conveniences or toothbrushes or anything like that. It doesn't care about that stuff. The subconscious, the lizard brain, the hind brain, hell, even the midbrain wants what it wants. And that's why women, that's especially feminist women, the firmware conflicts with the software. The software says you're not supposed to like it like this. The software is Carl Jung. The software is Sigmund Freud. The software is Abraham Maslow. The software is B.F. Skinner. The software is whatever he's been sort of thrust into your brain you think is the best, is your best practices, right? And you can't believe that your gut feeling is conflicting with the way that the world has conditioned you that you ought to be feeling. It's a betrayal of the sisterhood if you want a strong, dominant guy who looks like, with 6'3" ginger, who's a steel construction millionaire. I don't know why I'm attracted to him. I just am. I'll never be a feminist. Okay. So I got that. What do you got? Sam Whiskey. After the fall of the Soviet Union, a lot of bureaucrats in Moscow were drinking themselves to death, while their wives went shopping in Western Europe. Yep. Hey, Godfather, can you take me out with "I'm a Whore"? Sure.
Well, I'm a whore.
What am I? Have I turned? Have I finally reached that level? Am I now taking over? Tom Leykis retired.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess I'm the last one left. Yeah, here you go. I'm a
whore.
Women are like children. You have to deal with it. Ancient wisdom. Yeah, thank you. I don't think we should consider women to be children. I think they ought to be adults. I think they ought to be held accountable for their actions. I think they do have agency, moral and just secular, whatever. I think they should be able to vote. I just think they should be held accountable and liable for the decisions that they make, just like every guy. There is and I don't have them on hand, but there are dozens, well-studied phenomenon of how women are sentenced more leniently than men are for the same fucking crimes. Why? Why is that? because we have a protector dynamic. You're too pretty to go to prison. Oh, she's pregnant. Well, she can't go to prison. We'll just give you probation, right? Oh, you did the same thing, dude. You throw the book at him. 20 years. Yeah. Why is that? Because there is no male protector dynamic. There is no sympathy. There is no leniency. There is no cutting any deals for guys. You fuck up, you fucked up. What is it? One shit erases 10 attaboys for a guy. You start crying, you're weak. You start fucking around, you're weak. As in The Godfather, men or women and children get second chances or some shit like that. Men do not get second chances. And Chris Rock, only women, only women, children, and puppy dogs have unconditional love. And he's right. I hate seeing old Chris Rock,
right?
Because he is funny, but you could tell he's divorced. You could tell if you look at like Bigger, Longer, Blacker, or whatever, like from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. You look at his like what the stand up that put him on the map, and then you look at where he is now and his shit. You're like, some chick fucking hammered him flat. Yeah, but he's like, you gentlemen, some way, somehow, kicking and screaming, you'll be dragged into the red pill reality. You can choose to do it voluntarily, or you can try it the hard way. And you know who got it the hard way? Chris fucking Rock. What do we got? The suppliers of sex work are at fault. Okay. There can't be a supply if it's not for sale. There will always be a demand because men have dicks. Dirks. What are you, Scottish? I got her dicks. Right. Now, Scottish accent I can do. Hey, boyo, get your dirk out. Teenage chicks are fawning over Baron Trump. He is next heir to the Iron Throne of the Emperor. I think that's the Golden Throne. Yeah, Baron Trump. You know what scares me about Baron Trump? Have you ever seen the picture with? Well, I know he is, but have you ever seen the movie? It's a trilogy, The Omen.
Yes.
Damien,
yeah,
dude. I ain't saying he looks like Damien. He looks like fucking Damien. Holy shit, he looks like Damien Thorne. Oh, he's the Antichrist. Thanks for your answer, by the way. I did, in fact, get the coil from Lacuna Coil. Oh, you did? Cool. Horns up for catching that. Yeah, can't put one past me. I'm faster, stronger, and smarter than everybody. Nightwish and Epica also rule. Nightwish is cool. All right. I think I got everything. Did we get to everything? We got to everything. Is anybody fucking around in the chat? Do you monitor the chat at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on top of it.
Is anybody fucking around? Did you have to ban anybody?
Did for a bit, but I just put him on a timer, but he went on Twitter.
Okay. And there she is. Slide in girl. I don't even know what slide in girl's name is. I don't even know what she was about. Teenage chicks and Baron Trump. Cryptic Coil, I got to you. Scott, did I get to you? Yes. Okay. I think I'm caught up. Good. Thank you, Sammy, for being patient with me today. Sam Bada is in the house. He is my ever-present mod. Rational. Yeah, get him in now. The red pill isn't a pill. It's a suppository. And it's never taken willingly. Oh, God, I wish. Yeah, I wish it could be taken willingly. Yeah, I wish it could. 3-hour mark. Yeah, well, guess what? We're going to kill this show right now. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see what else we got. I have to. Okay. So Myron and Fresh will be in. Fresh and Fit will be in on Tuesday, but we probably won't be doing anything with them until Wednesday. I'm still debating on putting them on Access Vegas because that is our Christmas show. We kind of already had a lot of shit set up, but Friday definitely. Friday will be in here in studio at this table. I kind of need you for that too on Friday if you're available. That's for the Hodge twins, Myron and Fresh, and myself, and we'll have Cappy in here too. And I don't know, we might have a mystery guest too. We'll see who decides to show up. But that will be on Friday. The Hodge twins' names have been called, so I think they will probably be here as well on Friday, but that'll be in the evening. So probably like 6 or 7, somewhere around there, so we can avoid all of the light issues that we have in here. Yeah, Hodge twins, are they divorced? I have no idea. I know about them, and I have watched them for a little while. I've always thought they were kind of funny. They kind of pivoted to the
conservative.
well, no, it's not that. It's the little hat crew, whatever you want to call them. Just who cares? You know, can we stop LARPing now, please? The elections are over. Can we stop Nazi LARPing now, please? God, it's 3 hours in. I guess I can say that word. Don't castle anyone. Well, see, that's the whole thing. Is maybe I should just bring it to the audience here. Maybe you guys can help me with this, because like I love Myron. I do. I love him like a brother, and I love Fresh like a brother. And you guys know this. I've been with them from day fucking one, since before day one, actually. Myself and Hotep Jesus were the first like real guests that they had on the show as far back as January of 2021. I remember being on the show before they even had the girls show, and they started the girls show. And then I remember one time, would you guys hear? I'll tell you the story. This is the story. You want to know how the Frank Castle thing came out? I'll tell you how. I was on the show. It was me. It was supposed to be this lawyer chick who's a psychologist chick, and one of her friends. And then Fresh was on the other side, and Myron was with me. So it was like us three. And this was just a standard run-of-the-mill, podcast, and it was live, right? And before the show happened, lawyer chick was there, and I was kind of talking to her and everything. But the chick who was her friend was mouthing off to Myron, and just sort of like being sort of disrespectful to her. I don't know. I have no idea why, right? Myron wasn't having that shit, and this is before the show started. We weren't live. It was before the show started, and he says, "Well, if that's your attitude, you can get the fuck out of here." And I looked at this and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then she picks up and she leaves, and we finished the show. We still did the show with the one girl, myself. It was a debate kind of thing. And I might still be available on YouTube. And Fresh was there. Right. And then the show was done. And then I think we went for about an hour and a half. And then I looked at Myron and said, you should have waited until we were live and then boot her off the show, because that would have been a great shtick. Right. That was the first castling. The first castling happened before the show started. I was there for the very first castling. And I think that's what kind of inspired them to do what they do, right? Which was great. But like, I want things to, like, this is the Christmas show. Things are a little bit different here in Vegas. Our girls are a little bit older, but I think this is me, but I think they're far more attractive than whatever podcast Easy. And then probably for the most part, more attractive than the girls that are on Fresh or Fit now. Like prior, we might have had a case, but I think our girls are pretty much smoke shows, and we know them all personally. They're all friends of Mike's. They're all friends of mine. I have my list now. I have a very small list, but Mike has a very extensive list, and I just don't want to kick girls off this show. And especially now, because this is our studio here, and we're paying the rent, and so I don't want to see any of my friends get booted off because there's just some sort of back and forth and maybe some misunderstanding or whatever between Myron and Fresh. And there's been a lot of fights on Fresh and Fit, which is what they're supposed to do. Like, I think the world's finally healing. Fresh and Fit are going back to girls getting booted off the show. Like Celine was on there, whatever her name was on there not too long ago. She got kicked. So we're kind of getting back to old school Fresh and Fit, which I kind of think is good, but this is a different situation here. And I don't mind having them in and having that conversation, but I just don't want any friction. I don't want any bad blood, not on the Christmas show. Okay? So, I don't know. It's a possibility. We'll see. I just want to throw this out there and sort of like let my audience know that, this is kind of stuff we have to deal with, especially now that we run our own studio. So we have to make decisions. I don't just go on people's shows now. Thank you, Nuke. But I don't just go on people's show now. I have to actually be involved in show prep, and I have to be involved in a lot of decision making. So, Rolo, when I started listening to you in 2018, I was making 40K. Now I'm making 200K as a result of me. I wanted to give some credit to you, to your work and Rational Male view on the world for helping me get there. Wow. So you went from 40K to 200K. Ooh. In what? 6 years? 6 years?
Yeah, 6.
Not bravo.
Hell yeah, man.
Here, you get one of these. Well, thank you for thinking about me, my friend. Yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with. We'll see. I think we'll probably be okay. So Fresh and Fit, possibly Wednesday, definitely Friday. Thursday we will be at Babes in Toyland for the Christmas show on Babes in Toyland. I will definitely be doing some Instagram reels. So if you follow me on Instagram, check those things out. My wife will be with me on because it's a special occasion, man. It's Christmas time, right? She was with me at the Vegas Babes in Toyland in August. And so she's going to be with me on this one. And so if you want to meet me and my wife, you can. Does she actually exist? He doesn't have a wife. What do you know? It's funny. I'll tell you. So I was at we were at the August one in Vegas, and I took some pictures there. I had some pictures taken of me, and I thought they were pretty good. And so I go, you know what? I'm going to take a chance here. I'd never post my wife. I hardly ever do. I did once on our anniversary this year. Because I just wanted to flex on people. It was my 28th anniversary. And like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna post a picture of my wife it was just in a story, right? It wasn't like a permanent thing. It was only up for 24 hours. People lost their fucking minds. They're like, oh my God, is this and then but before all that, I had so many people going, who is that blonde floozy he's with? Where's his wife? I'm like, that is my wife. Yeah, I'm like, well, thank you. I'm glad you think she's as attractive as the other blonde floozies that are Access Vegas. I'm doing okay. But yeah, my wife is very attractive. She still holds it. You know, did you see that picture of Marissa Tomei?
I don't think I did.
She is 60 years old, and Marissa Tomei still holds up. Like, all these people, like, it's been going around Twitter. We're fucking around now. It's been going around Twitter, and she's like there, like kicking her legs up and everything, and she's 60 years old. She looks good. She looks like definitely doable, for an older woman if you're into MILFs. But definitely looks good. And these other guys are like, I would never get with a woman like that. I'm like, why? Because she has no eggs. she is evolutionarily a dead end. And I'm like, bring her on. you go have fun jerking off, man. But I love it how people like guys who don't fuck like come up with like this shit. She has no eggs. She's useless. You can't start a family with her in the back country and churn butter and milk cows. Love what you guys do. I really do enjoy the in-depth topics, especially when it comes to evolutionary psychology, not topics relating to Pearl, though. Yeah. She's a science project, to put it mildly. Yeah, you want a science project? There you go. Okay. It's Christmas time. I'm going to say something nice about Pearl. I know. Here it comes.
Oh, shit.
She does have good production value. She has zero content value, but I will say that her studio is very well done.
Yeah.
Like the camera angles and everything. I'm learning quite a bit, and we're going to steal all of it, just like you. Just ruthlessly, mercilessly, shamelessly rip off your camera angles. And that's where we're going with this. So you banger that. Marissa Tomei is not bad looking for 60 years old. You stay on top of your. I'm 56. The older you get, the more being in shape is a flex. It works for women too. Yeah. It's a flex still. But I was looking at this. I was looking at the video of Marissa Tomei, and these guys are like, oh, she doesn't have any eggs left in a carton, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Jesus Christ. No wonder idiot trad femmes think that that's the red pill. That's not the red pill. Okay. Just please. But so I'm looking at this and I'm like, if these guys saw this chick in a club, they would hit on her. You would hit on this chick. I mean, maybe, it's 2 a.m. She looks like she's older. So easy picking. You would do it. You wouldn't care if she has eggs in the carton or not. I have more respect for myself. Fine. Go jerk off. Anyways, that's good. Yeah, it's true. Those eggs are dried up. wait, there you go. You win, dude. Marissa Tomei has good genes. It's her DNA that she's got. Yeah, she's okay. Yeah, she does. She's not too bad. What is it? I don't bang hot women because they're 304s, says the guy who doesn't get like. Yep, that's funny.
That is funny. Yeah. Oh, this is good. I'll never, guy saying to a smoking hot chick with fake tits and tats that doesn't even recognize this exists. Dude, you need to be where are you when I'm doing Access Vegas? I need these for Access Vegas. Oh God, that's so funny. Yep. Powdered eggs. There you go. Jeez. Do you remember that meme where like no eggs in the carton? They show no eggs. It was a carton of zero eggs. you know, I used to think that like menopause was like the like sexual retirement for women, and for the vast majority it probably is. But like if you ladies, you stay in shape and you look good, you stay in shape for your man, you like to have sex, you take estrogen, take lady test, which is a very small like TRT. It's only like what 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, something like that. Very small once a week, right? You can stay in pretty good shape and still enjoy like fucking. And I'll tell you, man, no eggs. That's a green flag. Hey, I don't have to worry about it. I can go raw dog you, no problem. Let's go. All right, guys, that's it for me. I will see you guys. Let's see. Check out my Instagram coming up. Also, Reignite. If you guys are wanting to rebuild your life, if you want to be part of MOA, please check out the links below. They are the ones that are at the very top of the stack right there. You don't even have to go below the fold. My Reignite program is really taking off, like more so than I thought. It's snowballing to the point where I'm like, can I finish this book? I am in the middle of working on a 6th book that has a lot to do with the Reignite program. So it is, it's really meant to help guys come back from a deficit or come back from a defeat, come back from being zeroed out. I try to, sort of work in, stuff into the shows and stuff about Reignite. I didn't do that so much today, but I do so because I care, and this is my baby. This is my project. This is me doing something like hands-on and not just doing shows and doing podcasts and stuff. It's me meeting you guys like where the rubber meets the road. So I'm doing that right now, and that's probably going to be my main focus throughout 2025 is working with the guys in Reignite, MOA as well. Mike and I are, I'm actually getting a little bit more involved in MOA as a result of being involved in Reignite. So if you see me at Babes in Toyland or Bunny Ball or any of these other things where we have a table, that's where I'm at. Just come over and say hi. Don't be intimidated. Just come hang out. I'll tell you, I was at Red Rock, Red Rock Casino last night or night before last, on Friday. And I was out there and I went to go see like the singer in my band knows some of these guys in this other band they're a cover band that were at Red Rock. Yeah. And so we were out there and we're just hanging out, and me and my wife are walking back to the parking lot, and I had like 2 guys come over. Hey, dude, I love your stuff. And it just like stopped me right in my tracks right there. And I thought maybe they were like thought I was like a rock star or something like that, but they knew who I was and like immediately. And I talked to them for about 5. So big shout out to whoever those guys were that I met on Friday night. So I wish I could have talked to you longer. But that's something I'm still kind of getting used to. Anyways, I will see you guys next Sunday. And again, if you want to come and hang out and for a good charity, for a good reason, come out to it's at the MGM. It's at the club called On the Record. And it is the Babes in Toyland. This is the Christmas edition. This is where it all started, by the way. That's why it got the name Babes in Toyland, because it was for Toys for Tots, and that's what the charity is Toys for Tots. So if you want to get in, you bring toys, bring toy donations. And I think if you want to be at a table, there's still a cover, but like you can bring toys and get in. So it's for a good cause. So I'll see you guys there. I'll be there probably about 9:00 on Thursday night. So, and then Hodge Twins, Fresh and Fit. Me and Mike, Cappy is going to be with us. And if I can get a couple other guests, I will. That'll be on Friday, 7:00 right here on this channel. It'll be on this channel because it'll be on Access Vegas. So check it out on Access Vegas. And then Wednesday night is the Christmas edition of Access Vegas. Same time, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern time. And possibility we might have Minor and Fresh on. So anyways, we'll see you guys then. Thanks a lot. Peace.
All right.
Would you do it again? I need to feel you on top of me. It was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by and went over like a matchbox stereo. Time to get my thoughts now, let it go. Bound to keep me up all night.
I feel like I just took a bath in battery acid.
But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know.
Sorry.
Maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. You could have the best in my life.
She's not a Christian!
Now we're fucking in the
You
bathroom,
lose.
tearing up everyone.
Good day, sir.
Why you screaming my name?
That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty? Ugh.
She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stepping with her head like she's Claudia Kelly.
Well, I'm a whore.
Run me, ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting nasty, working up and down on your body. Run me, ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song on your body. Baby, we'll get down to it.
We're never gonna score. We're never gonna score.
We can fuck again, and maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know. And maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again.
Oh, those guys are back! Preceding podcast has been a production of The Rational Male. All rights reserved. 2024 registered trademark. Go check it. It's registered. And don't steal mid stuff.
Ain't nobody got time for that. FBI, open up!
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
And maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know. And maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. You could have the best in my life.
All right, all right, all right.
Say my name.
Tell that bitch to be cool. Say, bitch, be